Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 47 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I'm your host as always, Brad Ellis, and joining me this week, the lovely, and my punching up co-host, the lovely Micah Moriarty. Micah, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Brad. I got to smell a skunk today, so it was a good
delightful.
day. Yeah, well, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like it, I know, but it reminds me of home. It's very nostalgic, and we don't really have many skunks around here. I might smell one or two a year. So I was driving my dog to the vet this morning, and I drove by a dead skunk in the road, and man, she was wafting. All right, so that was a good part of the day.
I learned something new about you constantly, Micah, and I did not know you. Skunk smell is nostalgic for you, I guess. It does remind you of home because you told me you grew out kind of like in the country, right? More so?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's skunks everywhere, like back home, specific, like, far Western Mass. Skunks everywhere. They used to live under my porch, and my dog, my childhood dog got sprayed by a skunk like 3 times when I was a kid, which is very unpleasant when it's that close. It's not good at all when it's that close. But I always liked it as a kid. I always kind of took a bigger whiff of the smell than other people may have done. So driving my car today and getting a whiff of that skunk, it was nice. It was nice. I feel bad that it was dead. I don't like that it was dead.
Yeah,
I want to clarify that.
Yeah. You're an insane human. I tell you this, I feel like every episode, but you are an insane human. But it's good.
One of those things, though.
You are the wild card.
I think everyone has a non-traditional smell that they very much enjoy. And because there was another woman back home who loved the smell of cow manure, for example. And I don't like that smell at all. But for me, it was skunk. But it's also dusty vacuum. That's my favorite smell in the whole world, though.
Dusty
Nothing beats
vacuum.
Yeah, and you don't smell it as often anymore because you don't use bagged vacuums anymore. But, the canister just doesn't produce the same smell. But the smell of a vacuum bag that's full, but you keep going, it just fills up your house with that good dusty smell. Oh, man. That's the best.
Yeah, man. Vacuum bags. It's been a while. You're right. It's a relic of the past, I feel like, a lot of times. I mean, plenty of people still have them, of course, but...
Oh, right. And in industrial settings, it's still better to use a bagged vacuum. I don't mean industrial like factory. I mean, when I worked at a big store, we found that the bagged vacuums had better longevity for vacuuming an entire, store, a very big area. We found that they worked better long term. So we still kept a bagged vacuum, and they still do make them. But no, most people aren't actively choosing that for their home. It's so much easier and so much cheaper to not have to buy the bags.
Yeah. Do you like car smells or anything like that? I know some people like gasoline, I guess, kind of. Well, not huffing gas, but they kind of okay.
No, exactly. You're pumping the gas into your car, you get a little whiff of it. Oh, yeah, gas, like WD-40. Oh, man, there's so many good smells in a garage.
WD-40. Yeah, you're right. I guess so. There could be some, I guess I understand now what you're saying about nostalgic about it. Yeah, because smell could totally remind you of memories and all that stuff. Like music, of course, but cars is really interesting. I don't know. When you grew up, I know you grew up around your dad doing a lot of stuff like tomboyish kind of stuff, I guess you would say. Did you guys ever work on cars or anything?
My dad would do an oil change or he'll change out his own winter tires, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah,
but not as when I was a kid, and his hours were different. He didn't do as much of that stuff himself. These days where he works a really early shift, he's doing all sorts of stuff to the car because he has all these daylight hours. Back when he worked at the restaurant, and his whole day was taken up, it was different. But I always liked going to the mechanic and seeing all this stuff, and of course the smells, the oil and all that. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how dads are just always handy and they can just do a bunch of random stuff?
Because I genuinely have, now that Colin and I being homeowners, right? I tinker with a few things around the house. I fixed our 3 toilets, minor issues, but
Ooh.
like I've fixed the 3 toilets. I've done like little things like that. But no, it's like the things that my dad is capable of doing. I'm just like, I'm not comfortable doing any of that.
Yeah. I feel like I can do some stuff, probably like you, some of the more basic stuff, like fix a toilet or something like that. But my dad can can build furniture by himself and just like all this crazy stuff. It's just like, I don't know how you learned to do this, Dad, or whatever. Like laying bricks out there perfectly, doing everything. And he wasn't like, like a landscaper or anything like that. That wasn't his job. It's just, I don't know, dads, man. Just dads are good at that. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's something, and I tried to pick up what I could, but some of it too is just not having a full, shop full of tools as well. Like, yeah, my dad is definitely like a builder type dude and doing all this stuff. And it's also like, well, I don't have a garage with, a circular saw and all this stuff in it either. Like there's some things that it's like, I don't want to have all that stuff either. I also don't really want to have a full garage of equipment to do some of these tasks, even if they're relatively simple. It's like, I just hire the guy who already has the saw to do it.
Sure. I feel like you gravitated towards, in the dad camp, I guess, the more barbecue aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Dads are known for that most of the time, but you are the barbecue master, smoking meats and everything. That is your jam. I think that's awesome, Mike. I really love that.
Oh, thank you. Stuff. Yeah. That is definitely in my wheelhouse. I love the charcoal grill. And same with the smoker. It's also a charcoal smoker. I love that. Terrified of propane. That's where I lose some dad points. I'm terrified of propane. I don't want any of that.
Yeah, that King of the Hill. It was like wasn't there like a propane explosion or something like that? I don't remember. Someone died.
There's just, and I know it's rare. I know it's not common, but yeah, like that tank, man, I don't trust it. I don't trust it. You light the grill and you open it up and a whoosh of flames. And I think I don't know. Gas grills are scary. I like the flavor of charcoal better anyways, but charcoal just feels so much safer to me. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You get the hose and you douse it, right? Like there's just...
I'm cool with both, but I think charcoal, I like, it reminds me of like camping or something like that.
Yeah.
We had these things growing up near us called the lagoons. So they were like a hybrid of a beach and a pool at the same time, Micah. It's like, I don't know if they really have these anywhere, but there's sand everywhere. It's like man-made. It'd be like where a pool would be or something. It's man-made, has sand and stuff like that and rocks, but then there's like swimming area also in there. It doesn't look like a pool necessarily when you look at it. It's not like painted the white colors and everything like that, but it is like a place you go swimming and stuff. They had like a water slide that was like a rock slide. Really weird, and I haven't really seen it anywhere else, but they had like barbecue pits there, and it always reminded me in the summer, getting a big stick at they had like a little snack stand and barbecuing some dogs or something like that. Parents on the grill with the charcoal. Good stuff, Micah. I like it. All right. Enough about whatever weird hobbies we're into, I guess. But yes, we're here to talk about video games. Chris is not here right now. We're not exactly sure where he is, but we're going to wait for him. We're going to get him in here whenever he's available. So, because Chris got some interesting stuff. So hopefully we can get him in here. But we're just going to start with me and Micah. First of all, we got Ryan from Samurai Costanza. Samurai Costanza. What's up, everybody? I am writing in today because I need to ask Micah a question. Do you listen to podcasts while gaming when cutscenes are happening? Somehow, I can just see you playing a game while a dramatic scene is playing out. While game drums are drowning out all the game audio. Brad and Chris just imagine a situation where Otacon is asking Snake if love can bloom on the battlefield while Aaron and Danny are shouting about Sonic. It makes my skin crawl at just the thought of it. Love all the podcasts. Keep it up. All right, Micah. We're going to find out. Am I going to get angry at you again today?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well.
So here's, generally speaking, if I think it's going to be an important cutscene, I'll pause what I'm watching or what I'm listening to. But, sometimes I don't make it in time. Like when I was playing Link's Awakening and he finally played all the instruments and I fucking missed it, right? And I tried to turn up the volume on the Switch, and I was like pausing my podcast, and I didn't get there in time, and I had to go watch it on YouTube when he played all his little instruments, right? So sometimes I miss it. I try, though. I do try to say, all right, this seems like a big moment, and let's pause, and if you can pause the cutscene, that's ideal. But they don't always let you do that. Yeah. Sometimes all it pops up is skip, and it's like, no, I'm not trying to do that. So, no, usually I often miss it. I try, though. I do try. Like, we'll get into it later. I intentionally started Dragon Quest III with the sound on. All right. I played for an hour with the sound before I started my Game Grumps. All right. I just want, I did say I want to get a taste of it.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. You got an hour of it, okay? Like, I should be thanking my lucky stars. I get that much from you to listen to game music and all that kind of stuff. So that's good. I gotta ask though, when did this whole thing start with you? When did you start listening to podcasts and other stuff when you're playing games?
A lot of it is just a lack of time to do it while I'm like doing anything else. For example, COVID era, not driving a lot. Well, if I can't listen to the podcast in the car because I'm not going anywhere, and then it's like, I guess you could listen to it like while you're cleaning. But even that, it's like, my football podcast today that I started is 2 hours long. So it's just one of those things of like, yeah, when do you find the time? And that's one of their podcasts. They release 3 or 4 a week. They're not all that same length, but we're talking one might be 2 hours, one might be 45 minutes, one might be an hour. And in your whole week, much like our own listeners, it's like, where do I fit all of this in to my daily routine? And it just usually comes down to YouTube, especially. I never feel like I have time except at like bedtime. Colin and I have a couple YouTube channels that we like to watch together, but that's the only time I actually sit and watch YouTube. But otherwise, the Game Grumps is basically a podcast, and I never actually see what they're playing. I'm never watching it. It's just on in the background. But it is, I think a lot of it started with COVID, with not driving, not having a commute, or like my lunch break at work used to be when I'd watch some of these things, but then I was just home. So then I'd play video games because I'm home for my lunch break, and I think it was COVID that did this. I'll blame that.
Yeah, I think COVID ruined a lot of people. It definitely got us used to staying at home and doing nothing.
Yeah, that and the chronic multitasking. Because I admit that maybe I shouldn't always do this, but also we'll get into this later. But like Link Between Worlds, I didn't love the soundtrack, and I wouldn't have wanted to listen to that for 15 hours. Like, no offense, but like,
offense taken.
I wouldn't have wanted to hear it for that long. I was sick of it. Like, so I would intentionally turn it back on periodically just to be like, oh, what's the music like in this dungeon? And it's like, sucks. And then go back to whatever I was doing.
Okay. All right. All right. This is from Daddy Milk. Ugh. Hey, it's Paul. I wrote you a couple months back. You read my comment. It was the BBC reference. I legitimately didn't make that lewd connection until I saw you paused for a second. I seriously meant the British Broadcasting Network. Forgive me, please. Well, Daddy, you're forgiven. They are. I knew what you meant when I read your email, but I knew everyone else is going to laugh. And we all did laugh because it is still funny. An unfortunate name, BBC, British Broadcasting Network. All allowed, though, because it was the original. All right, Micah, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D. You and me have both been playing a little bit. I've played about, not so much as I want. I think like 4 hours or something, maybe like that, 4.5 hours. But so far it's been delightful for me. I'll get into all that. But I'm curious about your opinion about this game, because I know you were playing Dragon Quest 8 earlier this year, and I think you just bounced off it, right?
Right. I got 16 hours into that game, and I fully intend to go back to it, but it became an issue of newer games coming out that I didn't want to miss for punching up type deal. Yeah. And it's like, all right, I'm going to go back to it for sure during our Christmas break, because that's an excuse to play things that I don't have to talk about later. Like, I recognize that if I keep coming to a show for 3 months and I've only been playing the same one game, it's not great for the audience. So there are times when it's like, yeah, I'm going to put this on the back burner, or I have to play it alongside something else, so I have something fresh to discuss when I'm on the shows. But Dragon Quest VIII, I do really like, and I intend to get back to. But I was 16 hours in, and I don't remember what specifically came out, but I was like, I just have to do other things.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. Was it Zelda? Echoes
It
of
might
Wisdom,
have been
maybe?
Zelda Echoes, because I might have been playing that alongside something else on Switch. And then when Zelda Echoes came out, that was a must play immediately.
Right.
You know, especially the listeners were expecting us to talk about it in detail. So I was like, I can't dilly dally. And then I just loved it. And I played
Yeah.
Zelda Echoes like a maniac.
I forgot. Did you play Dragon Quest 11?
No, 8 was the first one I ever played. I have seen a little bit of 11 because Colin was playing it at the time that we met, I believe. I remember seeing him play it for a little bit, but I'd never played one before 8.
Okay.
That was my first entrance to the series.
So Colin is a big he's a big Dragon Quest fan. So
yeah,
what's his reaction been to you playing these games and getting into them? Is he excited about it?
Yeah, I'd say moderately so. I think there is, in one column, it's like, oh, cool, you're getting into this thing I really like. The other side, maybe a little apprehension of what if I really heavily criticize this thing that you really like, you know, and not, and only because our tastes are very different. So just as an example, I had noted to Colin, the gameplay is really fun. There's like no story. For Dragon Quest VIII. And he was like, yeah, and that's not what Dragon Quest is about. And he's like, it is about the gameplay. It is like the comfort food of going from town to town, experiencing each locale, the little cultures built into the game, but there's not a lot of story. And I am definitely a bit more of a story-focused gamer. I will 100% play a game that has excellent gameplay and minimal story, like Unicorn Overlord, for example. But I do prefer when there's a little more meat on the bones here. So things like that. But I think overall, like, I think he'd be over the moon if I said, oh, I'm going to try Castlevania. But also, if it's something I know I won't like, I don't want to have that conversation later of like, I didn't like it. And it's like your favorite thing ever.
It's okay. Kristen, my girlfriend, doesn't like a lot of things I like either. So I'm in the same camp. She does not like platformers or Castlevania or anything like that. Those Metroidvanias that me and Colin love. Same thing. I'm used to it, so don't worry about it. Again, I remember she played Shadow of the Colossus, and she's like, I don't like this. This isn't good. And I was like, no. Come on, man.
What is the game that's coming back? It's, oh my God, it's killing me. It's a Vita game. You're in prison for like a million years. Yes, I hate that game. And famously, that is a Colin classic. He reviewed it on Hot Pepper Gaming back in the day. I tried it back then, way before I met Colin. Tried it because of that review. Didn't jive with it because of the time based. I can't stand when levels are timed. Like, I remember I really wanted to love De Blob because it's colorful and fun, and the timer drove me bananas. So that's another example of something that's like, I want to love this because you love it so much and I want to understand, but I can't. I think I'm going to try it again, though, with the re-release. I probably will give it another go.
That reminds me, I look forward to one day, whenever you get to Majora's Mask then, because you're going through Zelda games slowly. We'll see.
I don't know if I'm even going to try it. I mean, that's one that it's like...
You got to try it.
Well, first of all, I've watched the Game Grumps play it, so
all right.
I've already seen it. But I have to be completely honest, the Deku people freak me out so bad.
Yeah.
I hate, they're so scary. I just am like, and the moon is scary. I don't know.
Well, just remember the Dekus are small. They're pretty small. You could like punt one pretty easily, probably in real life, so they can't hurt you. Don't worry about it.
You'll be proud of me, though. I did order Ocarina of Time for 3DS because I've never played that one.
Did you now? Okay, that's great.
I did order that on Amazon. They had I don't know if you've ever bought them, the copies of 3DS games that say they're for Saudi Arabia on the front.
No.
But they work on American consoles. I have one for Fire Emblem Awakening, and so they do work for the North American region. They are ESRB rated. I don't know why this happens, but it was only $30 for a new copy. Yeah, or it was like $38 if I wanted the Nintendo Selects American version, and I was like, who cares? So I am pretty excited about that.
Oh, okay. Okay, back to it. We had a quick little interruption. We were talking about Zelda. You got the Ocarina of Time 3D, which is awesome. I'm very curious though. Why did you pick that one? You wanted to play just the remake one over the Switch, the N64 one on Switch?
So a couple things. First, I did Google where should I play this, and there was very helpfully a Reddit post from last year, so very recent, of someone saying where should I play this? It's on Nintendo Switch Online, or I can get the 3DS copy. And hands down, most people said get the 3DS version. It's so long as you have a working 3DS already. They're like, don't buy a 3DS to play this, but if you have
Right.
one and it's operational, play it there. It has, just better quality of life. And I did recall Colin played Ocarina of Time on my Switch for Knockback back, I guess that was last year. And he just kept noting the control scheme being odd. I'm not sure if I would have noticed that because I never played the original, but he just kept like periodically being like, these controls are so weird. And so there's definitely features like Nintendo Switch Online. You can rewind and do all that type of cool stuff. But the overwhelming majority of people on like the Reddit posts that I went through had said play the 3DS one. And I did remember too, like, friends who owned it saying it was a really great version of the game. So
Yeah.
I was like, and it's been fun to use the 3DS again. I spent a million hours with my 3DS when it was still like the new hot console. So it's been really fun to be playing it again and have an excuse to play it again. The form factor is a little weird. I'll admit, like, I used to be so comfortable holding it. Now it's like, this thing is so tiny. It's almost like cramping your hands to hold it.
Yeah.
But someone's going to cut that out, Lockmort. But it's just like, it's fantastic to be playing it again and have an excuse to use it. I have the pink 3DS, like the pearl
Oh,
pink
nice.
one. So it's
Yeah.
pretty. I miss seeing it. I miss them doing really fun colors like that. So it's just one of those things of a little bit of both. A, I think it's going to be a better version based on what other people have told me. And B, it's an excuse to use the 3DS, which I just miss.
Yeah. I think it probably is the better version to play, especially for newcomers, because they make some tweaks to streamline some stuff. Particularly the water temple is a little more clear, I guess, and switching equipment is just easier on 3DS. So yeah. Well, anyways, I'm stoked that you're going to be playing it. I love that game, so it's an all-time classic. So I can't wait for you to hate it and just ruin everything I love once again. But anyways,
No. I mean, so far, I'm going to say so far with the Zeldas, the only one I haven't really jived with was Link to the Past. And it was strictly just the difficulty spike. Once you get to the crystal dungeons, the 3 pendant dungeons, excellent.
Yeah,
and I was really rocking with it. I was like, this is awesome. And then once I got to the first, crystal dungeon or whatever, and I was like, this is madness. And all the rewinds in the world could not save me.
Yeah. Let's talk about Dragon Quest now. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D is out. You're talking about the story in Dragon Quest games and what Colin was kind of telling you, the story's not really the main focus. And I would say even Dragon Quest 8 has a bit of story. It's not like a ton, but every town you go to, there is like a story or whatever. Like, when you meet Jessica and everything like that, there's a whole story like that. And the reason you're on this journey and all that kind of stuff, there is that stuff. But Dragon Quest 3, so far, this is my first time going through Dragon Quest 3 also. I've never played it, so I was very excited about this. And the story is, I don't know, your dad is missing, I guess, and you're a hero too, and you go out and you help people. That's kind of like the whole thing right now. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't bother me that so much because I do have these expectations with Dragon Quest of not being the story being the focus, and I'm like, this was a Famicom game in Japan, I believe, so like an NES game essentially, and very primitive in a lot of ways, but it's like I'm okay with that every now and then. But I totally get how someone's like, not enough here to keep me kind of going to the adventure thing. But what has it been like for you right now with the story?
Yeah, so as you said, they give you so little to go on. What I wrote in my notes, no lengthy cutscenes or elaborate dialogue. We're just off and running. Yeah. And they tell you it's your 16th birthday and it's time for you to go out and adventure, just like your dear old dad who's gone. Yeah. and that's it. And they're like, they literally tell you, go find the thief key and get the fuck out. Like, and you're like, all right. And I think, so here's the thing for me when it comes to story is mostly when it's these really long experiences. That's when I'm like, well, if this is 60 hours, where's my motivation to keep going? And like Dragon Quest VIII, for example, the base story, this isn't a spoiler, the base story is that you are traveling with this king who has been cursed. That's the name of the game. And your long goal is to reverse the curse on him. You need to find this sorcerer. And as you mentioned, each town you go to, you essentially find someone who has been wronged by the sorcerer. So there's motivation peppered in, but you'll go hours between a little crumb of story, and you just kind of almost start to feel like this doesn't feel very urgent. It's the urgency that is lacking when there isn't a lot of dialogue for me. And so, or something like Link Between Worlds, for example, playing that, the urgency is apparent because it's like, look, man, they turned everyone into paintings and you got to go get them. And I'm like, all right, will do, boss. With Dragon Quest, it's not that I have a list of tasks to do like that. It's that I don't know what the next task is going to be. I'm just going from town to town. And so the motivation is different. But it's really excellent. Like what I wrote in the notes is, from the very start, this is a grand experience. The orchestral score, like teeing
so
you
good.
up, that's the start screen. Okay. Yeah. And then instead of pressing start, the directive says venture forth. And I love that. I love that that's how you start the game. It really does just set you up as this is going to be a grand adventure. And that just kind of reframed my mind a little bit of it might not have these really long cutscenes or a lot of dialogue, but there is a motivation here. What did you name your character? Because I named my guy Manfred.
Oh, mine's just Brad. I usually just name him myself.
I can't stand
Manfred's
it. I can't.
A very Micah name, though.
But then I got confused because right in the beginning it says that what is your true name? And I was like, do you mean my name or what? I wrote Arby because I didn't know what Arby, like the restaurant. Wait, like,
not Arby's, just Arby.
Well, yeah, like his name is Arby. It's his restaurant, but his
no
name
one
is
says,
Arby.
Let's go to Arby. You're going to
of course
Arby's.
Not. But that's his name.
All right.
If there is an Arby, I don't know.
That's a good question. Yeah.
But I was confused by the true name aspect, and I was like, I don't know. I guess it's Arby. It just came to me. I always just go with my gut.
All your gut.
Right?
Yeah. That's totally fun. Arby. Yeah. Did you name your party members anything different?
Oh, you could name them?
I think you can. Yeah. I think so.
See, when I picked them up at the inn like a bunch of stray cats, and I was like, all right, your names suck, but you're used to them. Yeah. So I just left them alone. They're like Nelson and Romeo and Margaret or something.
Yeah, I have Romeo too, I think. I think he's my healer.
Like, these names suck.
Yeah, I have I think Pierre is one of my guys, my mage or something like that. I forgot what my warrior girl is, but yeah. I was like, whatever.
Did you get the pre-order chest code?
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh, this is OP. They give you a bunch of seeds and stuff like that. Like 3 seeds, like strength, magic, and agility. I was like, this is OP. I didn't use them because I was like, I don't need to use this yet.
I did put on, because one of the things they give you is the shoes that increase your experience. I popped those bad boys on right away. Oh no, I'm wearing
too OP. Oh no, that's totally fine.
No.
That's too OP for me right now. I'm like, I don't need that right now. That's fine. If I'm at a point where I'm grinding or something for trophies or something like that, then I would do it. But otherwise, no, I'm okay. I'm used, for Dragon Quest, I'm ready to grind a bit anyways. That's just what Dragon Quest is in a lot of ways. So I'm like, all right, bring it on. That's kind of what Dragon Quest is. Let's talk about the combat. You've played a lot of turn-based RPGs. It's very simplistic and everything like that, I would say.
Yes.
Are you enjoying it though right now?
Oh yeah. Yeah, very straightforward. This does not have, so Dragon Quest VIII has the tension system where you kind of like Bravely Default, you default your turn to ratchet up your strength or whatever. And so you can do that a few times to give yourself a big multiplier on your strength for the next attack that you do. And this game doesn't have a system like that. It's much simpler. You're just choosing your attack, your magic, heal, whatever. I do like it though, because after, you play so many complex games, you play things like Metaphor, like Persona, like these games with like skill trees out the ass, like just a thing after a thing after a thing to learn. And this is just so simple of pick what you're going to do and watch them do it. You can turn up the speed so it goes faster. It's just very simple. Right now I have it. The battles are really easy right now, so I just have it that they follow my lead. So they'll heal on their own. I'm not directing each party member yet.
Gotcha.
Right. Because it's simple enough right now that's been fine.
Yeah.
But the only thing I don't love is random encounters. And it's pros and cons. On the one hand, it keeps me honest because I admit that I will totally like run like super wide around an enemy because I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. And then I end up underleveled. So on the one hand, it keeps me honest. It keeps me just doing all the battles the game thinks I should do to level up on track. On the other hand, though, there's nothing worse than being 2 steps from a treasure chest. And you're like, God, like there's a battle. And I was like about to touch it, or I'm about to walk through a doorway battle. I hate that feeling, but I know that it's in the long run, it's good because it's going to keep me from skipping all these fights that I shouldn't be skipping because I need the XP and then grinding later like a doofus.
Yeah. I like the job system so far, the classes or whatever. Like, I think you may have the same ones. Like, I think everyone starts with them. You could change stuff later on and recruit different people, but you have the hero. I think it's the hero class, which is your character, who's kind of the all-arounder, is really good, has heals and stuff like that, which I always appreciate. You have the warrior, which is, I don't know, she has like my warrior, she has like a counter attack where she can like block a hit for someone potentially and hit an enemy, but it might accidentally hit an ally. So there's kind of like a chance to it I like. Or she can do a move that always attacks first, which is kind of cool. And there's the mage, of course, got your frizz, your little fire spells, your crackle. Then you get sizzle later on, the AoE kind of thing like that. And the priest, or what are they called in this? Cleric? I can't remember if they're called cleric, priest, or whatever they're called.
I think it is priest. I think mine is a woman. I thought it said priestess.
Yeah, it might be.
It probably doesn't. It probably says none, and I'm like way off.
But yeah, you got your heals with like that. A couple offensive spells you can get, like whoosh, which is like a little wind spell that blows guys around. So that's really cool. I do like that sub weapons. This is from Dragon Quest 8. I remember this is like you can get like the boomerang weapon or whatever. You can throw it and it'll hit a group of enemies or stuff like that if they're all together. But there is definitely opportunities to use different types of weapons if you just want to focus more on single target damage, which is of course good for boss and all that kind of stuff. But it is, like you're saying, very simplistic, but still satisfying. I think it's still enjoyable the whole way through. But honestly, the reason I think it's so enjoyable, Micah, is because this is a thing for the series in general. But Dragon Quest, okay, let me paint the picture for you. Playing Dragon Quest to me is like, as someone who didn't grow up in snow, it's like sitting somewhere, you're inside, nice and cozy. It's like winter break, okay? Think that you're on winter break from high school or something like that. You got your 2 weeks off or something, like, or we have our winter break. Sitting there, very cozy. There's a fire going near you. You're all cozied up in your blankets, your sweatshirt, your hoodie, whatever you got. You got your little slippers on. You got some hot chocolate. You're drinking hot chocolate and you're playing this. This is what Dragon Quest reminds me of. It's like the Disneyland of video games without the terrifying mascots for you. It is just pure comfort nostalgia. Everyone says comfort food. It's like, yes, Dragon Quest to me is the ultimate JRPG comfort food. And I just feel all warm and fuzzy inside whenever I'm in this universe. The music, like you're saying, the score is so good. It's fantastic. Just getting fully orchestrated Dragon Quest music, actual orchestrated, is amazing, because you were playing the 3DS version of 8 and that doesn't have the orchestration in it, unfortunately. The PS2 version did, but not that one. But now we're just getting it there, and I'm just like sitting there in awe when I hear it sometimes when I get into a town, because the town's incredibly cozy, like the rest of the game. You just want to walk around, and their lighting and everything looks beautiful. Like at nighttime when you're walking around, you have your lantern out. Oh, it's just so damn cozy. I love it. I love walking around the town. The music is fantastic. But yes, Dragon Quest is the ultimate comfort thing for me, so I am very happy. It's like the best game to play at Christmas time for me, so I'm very stoked to play it more later on next month. Does it give you comfy feelings like that as well, Micah? Do you get any of these happy I'm in my happy place right now kind of feelings.
Oh, absolutely. Especially too, my parents have a working fireplace. They live in an older home and it has a fireplace in it, a wood burning fireplace. I'm not talking about one of those gas contraptions,
Right.
all right, that you newfangled people have. We're talking a wood burning fireplace. And it is just the coziest thing in the world when they have a fire going and it's, 15 degrees outside. And that is the visuals in this game are gorgeous. The
Mm-hmm.
light is
Yeah.
so well done. I'm going to say this not to be rude, just for comparison's sake. I think it is slightly less pretty than Octopath Traveler 2, but
Sure.
it's the quality of the visuals. The light effects, the water effects are amazing. But in terms of that, Octopath Traveler 2 has this like gilded quality to it, this like almost glitteriness to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't have that, but it is still gorgeous. Like this artwork, phenomenal. It's the small effects as well. You walk into someone's house and you see they have like a fire burning. If you walk up to the fire, the crackle sound effects start. And if you
Mm-hmm.
walk away from the fire, the sound effects die away. Those are little touches I did not expect by any means. And it adds so much depth to the experience of actually having like these directional, sounds of, oh, I'm standing right next to the stove. I can hear it. I walk away. It's gone. It
Mm-hmm.
is just fantastically done. The visuals, the light, like I can't get over just walking around and seeing how the lantern,
Mm-hmm.
plays off the walls in like I went to this little dungeon area first, right? And just seeing how, water droplets dropping from the ceiling into a puddle, all those little touches are just magnificent. And so,
Mm-hmm.
the look of the game especially gives me very cozy vibes. And then the gameplay itself, it is simple. It's not boring yet by any means, but it is simplistic. There is definitely a feeling of reward when you unlock a new spell that you get to
Yeah.
use, and
Yeah.
then it's like sweet, that adds more variety. And the first person angle when you are in the battles looks so cool. Like when it's like, oh, Romeo throws a fireball and it's like you see it like shoot out. It
Mm-hmm.
looks really great. It looks really great. Yeah, this is definitely striking all the comfy gaming vibes that for me. Of course, I put on a nice comfy podcast in the
Yeah. Sure.
background and really
Yeah.
settle in with it. But it's what I enjoy about turn-based games is the predictable isn't the word because you never know when you're just going to get like wiped out, right? But I just enjoy taking turns. It's what I love so much about football, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Some people just say that it's boring, but it's like football is turn-based and they're taking turns going
Yeah.
down the field and there's a predictability there that feels safe, I guess you could say. And it's what I feel when I play turn-based games. And I really do just love that experience. Turn-based games might be my favorite in terms of when I'm talking JRPGs. So this is ticking all those boxes.
Yeah. Definitely. Let's get some reader questions in, or listener questions in here real quick. It's from Ding Dong. Hey, Summon Signers. I see Brad and Mike are playing Dragon Quest III HD. I've never played a Dragon Quest game myself, but the first one I ever saw was Dragon Quest VIII on PS2. I remember being blown away when I found out the art style was from Akira Toriyama, who I absolutely love because of Dragon Ball Z. So, how's Dragon Quest III HD? And what's it like transitioning from a massive RPG like Metaphor ReFantazio to something like Dragon Quest? I don't know how you guys keep up with so many long RPGs. I can only manage about 100-hour game a year. This year it was Persona 4 Golden on PC. And by the way, somehow I managed to figure out the big twist of Persona 4 before it even happened. Still love the game though. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. So, Dragon Quest 3, like we are saying, very simplistic compared to Metaphor, as you also said like that. Like Metaphor has so much going on with the combat and all these like really huge expanding story, like very long game. Dragon Quest game, from my understanding, is not nearly as long as I think it's like 30 hours. People were telling me around that time, so I'm not sure, but that's what people have told me. And Metaphor took me more than double that to get through, so quite a bit longer. But like I said, I think it is refreshing to come back to something just more simplistic every now and then. It's not something I would want to do all the time, but I think Dragon Quest just gets that certain itch every now and then where I'm just like, yes, the simplicity is welcoming and I really enjoy that. Of course, in Dragon Quest, it's not like a cakewalk all the time, like, or anything like that. Like, you still got to pay attention to fights. You can still get wiped if you're underleveled. But it's been really good to kind of hop back into something like that, I would say. I've been playing Pokemon also on the side, so it's been interesting to see these two simpler RPGs, I guess, in terms of modern things like that. But it's been good so far, I would say. And sounds like for you, so far so good as well, in the grand scheme of RPGs.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to note as well was just that the gameplay being simple, but the stakes being high, because there's no like revive item. Your, party member falls in battle. You have to go all the way back to a town, which, you might have an item to get you there faster or a spell. But until you have those, you have to go all the way back to a town, speak to the church, get them resurrected. There's no just like, oh, hit them with a revive. Like, you don't have that. So the stakes are high, and that keeps you engaged because, yes, the gameplay is very simple, but you do need to be on your toes when you're in a battle with a higher level enemy, because if you all get KO'd, or if like 3 of you get KO'd, you got to bring them all back to town.
Yeah, you're right. That is a great thing you brought up, Micah. You were right. It's really funny when someone dies because they're like the coffin, and the coffin will follow you.
It's hysterical.
Yeah.
It was really funny on Dragon Quest VIII, specifically on 3DS, because the coffin would glitch. And so sometimes it wouldn't be there, and then it would just appear, and it was like startling because like you're just walking, and then suddenly the coffin just like comes back and then pops away. And it made me laugh so many times where like the coffin isn't there at all, and then suddenly it's just like bam, he's back. It cracks me up seeing it just dragging behind you. Like, it's hysterical.
Yeah, and status effects. Like, if you get poisoned or something in the game, you can have an antidote, which is good, and they're very cheap. So if you're playing, stock up on all that stuff. Get all those remedies ready to go. But if you can like go to the priest and have them cleanse you of that kind of stuff as well. Some items you equip, like accessories, can be cursed as well, and it'll curse your character, but you can go to the church and pay money to like have them get rid of the curse for you. So there is an incentive to visit there. But this version, compared to old Dragon Quest, much more friendly in terms of quality of life, I'd say. The game is auto-saving frequently.
Yes.
Back in the old game, you just die. You could lose like an hour pretty easily, progress, 40 minutes, stuff like that. So it's very friendly in that sense, way more easy to get into. But of course, you can hard save. I really like the ritual of like going to a place to save. It makes it feel more important to me. Of course, autosaves make total sense, and I get all that. But something about that, just going back to town, having these things you have to do, which might be tedious for a lot of people nowadays, I would assume. But I always really liked stuff like that in especially like RPGs. Maybe just because I'm older and that's how they were back then. But I always really liked that kind of stuff. All right.
Yeah, this game does. Oh, I was just
Go
one
ahead.
more thing.
Yeah.
This game does have a lot of middle ground there between old school and new school. Like, yes, it auto saves, but if you want to do a manual save, you have to go to the church, for example. But another really nice upgrade they did was the objective markers on the map, which you can turn on or off. I am playing with them on. They really, though, it's not like Witcher 3, for example, giving you like a path on the ground and it's like really obvious. Like, you're going to open up your map, you see a little like highlighted circle of where you're going. It's not giving you an exact trail to follow. It's just like, go here. I love that only because I hate feeling lost in games and unsure. Yeah. So this gives me enough of a security blanket as a newer, as someone who's newer to old school style games, let's say. This gives me enough of a security blanket to feel comfortable playing this, and I don't feel lost at all. But someone else who doesn't want to have that option on, they can leave it off and play this as archaic as they want to.
Yeah, that's what I'm playing. I'm playing with it off because it defaults to off. And I was like, oh, this is probably what it's like in the original. But the game tells you where to go. You have to talk to people in the towns, which is something I'm used to. Like, I guess in a lot of RPGs nowadays or games, you don't like have to talk to NPCs, but talking to them in these games definitely helps, and they give you hints on stuff like that. So
that's a major difference. It's something Colin talks about a lot. Is in a lot of newer games, talking to the NPCs is useless. Yeah. And you are almost discouraged from doing so. Like, you go to a new town and all I might say is like, lovely day today. And it's like, all right, I'm going to do this 20 times and maybe get a nugget of information. Whereas in Dragon Quest, no, you really should go talk to people, but it's a habit to relearn because there are plenty of games now where it's like, it's just useless to talk to these people. They're not saying anything that you actually need to hear or care about. And it's just like, they're just here and they each have a dialogue line and that's it. This is the opposite, where you really should go talk to them. You'll learn useful hints about the world around you and what to do.
Yeah. One thing I want to just briefly is, I don't know if this was an original. I'm not really sure, so someone can let me know. But there is the monster arena in this game. They had something like that in Dragon Quest VIII where you can get monsters, and I haven't done it yet. I've been there and I've recruited a couple monsters, but I cannot wait to send my boys in there to fight the monster arena. I love that kind of stuff, so I am so stoked to do that. But I can't wait to do it. So there's like a little side quest in this game to do and all that kind of stuff. So don't worry about that. There's still plenty to do, but it is more basic all around. Let's see, real quick. This is from Grant. Hey, Summoners, with Dragon Quest III Remake being released, are there any other classic JRPGs you would love to see get a remake / remaster treatment for modern consoles? For me, it would definitely be Chrono Trigger or Xenogears, since I have yet to play those. I would love to settle for a basic, I would even settle for a basic port. So I guess, I mean, in general scene of just remaking RPGs, yeah, there's so many ideas. So let's keep it to like the HD 2D style, Micah. Is there anything in top of your head that you think would work really well in this kind of visual style?
Oh, I mean, Chrono Trigger is the top of my list because I've never played it. Everyone tells me how amazing it is. The 3DS version is really expensive, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's just something that I would really love to play in an enhanced version like this. Would be amazing. That's top of my list, really. And also, Grant mentioning Xenogears. Another one that, I mean, something I have totally missed out on. But I'd be thrilled to be able to try those out because, things that like, oh man, I ended up loving, Xenoblade, of course, but I'd love to play that series as well and check that out. So no, those two would be top of the list. We're getting these already. Is it called Lunar or Luna?
Yeah, Lunar.
The series. I'm stoked about that. I was watching that with Colin and I was like, oh, hell yeah, dog. These look like Micah games and I'm going to be first in line for that. So, I mean, we're already getting some top quality remakes here, but Chrono Trigger would be top of the list.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger, a no-brainer. I feel like it's just, Chrono Trigger is an awesome game. I really love it a lot, so it'd be awesome to get it. I'm really happy with the Pixel remasters also. I'm glad those are available now too, because those are good. I'm really happy with them. A lot of people wrote in a question similar to this one, and someone brought up a game series I thought would be really good and work really well is Pokemon, particularly the older ones. I think would translate really well into this kind of style, particularly like Red and Blue, Gold, Silver. I think those would be awesome because they remake Pokemon games quite frequently, but they're never like pixelated style or anything like that. So I would love to see something like that. But yeah, Dragon Quest 3 so far, Yumi are enjoying it greatly. I can't wait to play more. I recommend it only if you're okay with stuff being more simplistic. If you're totally fine with that. So far, maybe it gets more crazy. We have no idea because we've never played through it. So, well, we don't know. But, quickly, Micah, you're playing the Switch version, right?
Yes.
How is it running to you?
So, generally, it's fine. The save screen, the little book icon gets stuck every time. I actually panicked. The first time I booted up the game, it just sat at that like black screen with the save icon in the lower right, and it just sat there for like 30 seconds. So I was like, oh no, she's broken. Like she ain't seaworthy. And then it kicked in and it's been fine. But that particular screen, whenever that autosave screen comes up, it lags every time. Like I think the animation, I believe the book is supposed to be like floating, I think. And I'll notice it kind of stutter and then like jolt back into place. And it's like, I think you're supposed to be floating. That has been a bit slow, but otherwise the battles load quickly, leaving the battles loads quickly. But that saving screen gets jittery every time, and it makes me a little nervous. I think it's going to be okay. I don't sense any major problems afoot. But yeah, aside from that, it's golden.
Okay, good. I'm playing the PS5 version. Runs good, really fast, looks really nice on my OLED TV. So It's been delightful right now. So I'm sure you can't go wrong probably with any version. You have a good time no matter what.
Right. I will be curious when Colin plays it to see what it looks like on PlayStation, simply because, as we've remarked before, Octopath Traveler 2 had some graphical like enhancements on PlayStation that were just missing from Switch. So, but you didn't know until you saw it, right? Like the map has this like glittering overlay on PlayStation that is just non-existent on Switch. And I had no idea I was missing out on it. So I will be curious to see him play it on the big TV and see what it actually looks like on PlayStation, if there is any like differences like that, if there's any like enhanced visuals that I'm missing out on.
Yeah. All right, yeah, Dragon Quest 3. Awesome game. All righty, we got Chris here now. Chris made it. Chris,
hey.
Good dude. How are you?
I'm okay. I just feel so stupid because I had an alarm mishap this morning, and so basically I put the alarm for PM by accident. After like a late night of editing, I was editing till like 3 a.m., which is not that abnormal for me, but I'm like, I could make it with an alarm. But if you wake up and your alarm doesn't go off, you're immediately like, man, what the fuck is wrong with technology? Technology sucks. It's so stupid. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh no, I'm the fool. I'm the idiot. Which is always just so deflating. But yeah, I made it.
Yeah, you're
hello.
here. Hello.
Sorry for the mishap, but
you're here. It's good to have you here. Happy you're here.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, we've one major thing to ask you.
Sure.
Do you like the smell of skunk?
Oh.
I don't know. I don't think I do. I would rather avoid it, but I don't like it, but I don't find it as offensive as a lot of people find it. You know what I mean? Like people are like, oh, what's that smell? It's like, I wouldn't want this in my house, but I feel like people get a little bit out of pocket with their reaction to it. Like it's I don't even know, like sulfur and garbage or something. Like it's like, I wouldn't say it's that crazy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want it around me, you know?
Micah is a big fan, I realized today. She informed me earlier. It's nostalgic for her. So I was like, okay.
Nostalgic?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we don't have many skunks here. So when I happen across a smell of one, it's like, oh, that's home. I mean, I smell one like twice a year down here. It's not the same at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm bummed. I'm kind of bummed out that skunks are just like that. They're so offensive because they're cute.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful.
They're pretty adorable, actually. But then it's just like, oh, well, it's gonna make me smell like shit for a while, so I don't really want to deal with this thing.
Have you ever seen the up close videos of how its butt works? By the way, it's horrifying. No. It's like this like tube comes out of its butt and sprays. It's like it's hysterical, but it's really cool.
I have never thought to look this up.
I was on Animal Planet. I wasn't Googling this. This was on Animal Channel one time. And it was like, did like a like hard zoom in. And it was like, whoa, that's how that works. All right.
Was that weird Animal Planet show that showed like green? I don't know how to describe it.
No. Yes. It was like it'd be like world's most deadly predators, world's like strongest animals. Like it was like world's best or something.
Yeah.
And it would always have these like green CGI men.
Yeah. I'm glad you know exactly what I'm talking about, so I don't sound insane.
No, it scared me as a child. I don't know what it was, but I would watch it regardless. But that show, the CGI men terrified me because they'd have them doing wacky stuff. It'd be like, if you could run this fast, this is what it'd look like. And they have like the CGI man, his legs are like propellering. And it's like, I didn't want to see this. I'm 10. It's too much.
It's a lot.
I was trying to Google this thing. Animal Planet CGI men.
Oh, no. It's called like world's most dangerous, maybe world's most Animal Planet. You'll find it. World's most Animal Planet. World's most extreme.
Yeah. Oh man, 2002. What a year.
Oh yeah. Look at one of the first. If you look up world's most Animal Planet, one of the first images is a human head with a pig nose.
What the
This is
hell,
the type
dude?
of shit I thought I was silly being afraid of this, but no, 9-year-old Micah was correct. This is weird.
Yeah, this is
weird, scary.
weird, dude. This is like PS2 tech.
It's upsetting, but I watched the shit out of this show.
Yeah, I never missed an episode. I just was very uncomfortable the whole time I was watching it.
Yeah.
Like, can you see this image? That's a long link, but can you see that image, dude?
Yeah,
like that guy's his like big head and a super long chin.
Yeah. So
Right,
so
like-
what they would do is that they would be like, so this is the eyesight of a hawk or whatever. Here's what it would look like if your eyes were as big as the hawk's eyes are good.
My god.
And so they would just make these abominations. I totally forgot that this was a show until you mentioned Animal Planet, and then this all came flooding back to me.
Yeah, these images are absurd. Like this guy has like a Venus flytrap for a mouth. They were always green like this with a black background, so they were so harsh. It would be like, yeah, this is how big your mouth would have to be for you to eat a watermelon in one bite. And it's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, these are like Dark Souls enemies or something weird. All right, Chris.
Oh my god.
Please talk to me. You've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I assume because you got the Pro, and now it doesn't look so blurry. You've gone back to it. You started this when it came out, but you were a madman and you did Remake right before it. Then you hopped right into Rebirth right after. So you took some time off, but now you're back.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm back into it. You know, I did kind of overload myself on Final Fantasy back when Rebirth first came out. I think I did like, it was probably like around like 60 straight hours.
Yeah,
because I know I finished all of Remake and then I did like about 30 of Rebirth, and so I was just like, I think I'm a little burned out on this. Also, yeah, the performance mode on base PS5 just didn't bother me, but I could tell, you know, like I generally don't care about resolution as long as frame rate is really solid. But I think the second I realized that like, oh, the Pro's coming out, and also I'm kind of burned out. Oh wait, you know, like I don't know, it'll probably benefit from me waiting, and I was kind of right. It's actually the only game so far that seems to have objectively benefited from the Pro existing at all, which is a little bit funny. But so yeah, I jumped back in. I jumped off at Gold Saucer.
Okay.
Which isn't super deep into the game, I don't think, but like I was like 100%ing every area before that. And then I got to Gold Saucer, and then all your party members are like, let's ride the Gigafuck. And you're like, I don't really want to go on. So the mini game the mini game fatigue kind of set in at that point where I was like, I really don't want to take part in this at this point. So I'm just going to save this for later. So I kind of treated that point in Rebirth as like my fake end. And this is like my fake sequel. Where it's just like, oh, this is the continuation of Rebirth. So I'm jumping off of Gold Saucer. I just did Corel, and I just got to Cosmo Canyon.
Oh, now, so you went through Gongaga already? Yeah,
I went through Gongaga already. I was actually when I was in Corel, I was getting the urge to like, oh, you know what? I'm now that I'm back in this space, I kind of want to go 100% everything, and I kind of want to go like get all the world intel, go through all the towers. And then I got to Gongaga and I was like, fuck this. I cannot fathom. I don't understand this map at all. Like I feel like I keep hitting dead ends. The forest is so dense that like the pathing, like I get lost immediately, which is, I guess it would be cool in a game that is more centered on the idea of being lost, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth isn't really about being lost. It's not like a core fun, like you're supposed to feel like you kind of know where you're going, but it's just such a windy, crisscrossy, weird fucking map with like arbitrary, like I know my objective is on the other side of this damn wall. I'm 5 feet from it, but I can't find the path to get me there. And I just got annoyed. I was like, I'm just gonna go to the airship. Fuck this place. Maybe I'll go back to it. Although fast traveling between regions is pretty annoying. So like maybe I will, maybe I won't. I like the idea of having a lot of game left to play, but I think my initial criticism of Rebirth originally was that it just kind of felt a little bit too much. And I do think that still is true, but I am enjoying it. I just got to Cosmo Canyon. I haven't really done anything in there yet. I pretty much just landed from the airship. And it's nice to have a change of scenery. Like, it's nice to have like a desert. I'm a sucker for like environmental diversity. So anytime a game's got a lot of different places that you can go that don't feel too samey, it's like, this is great. This is good shit. So the desert is like the most striking locale so far in a while that I've seen, which is nice. Yeah,
because it has a lot of verticality and stuff like that. A lot of big open spaces you can kind of glide around on, those chocobos, all that stuff like that. There is a ton of stuff to do in this game, and I 100% understand people getting burnt out, especially if you try to do everything at once. I would not recommend that for most people. Unless you're like super into that kind of stuff, don't do that. Just kind of do what you want and come back later. You can come back later, so don't worry about it. You will have time to do more stuff, so don't get burnt out. Yeah, but Chris,
I will say I will say one thing. There are certain side quests in this game that I'm like, why is this here? I was in Gongaga and I was like, you know what? I haven't done a side quest in a while. I'm feeling like maybe this map is bothering me, but I should at least do like at least a few of these. And so I go to the notice board and I see this chicken mission. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. A chicken mission, whatever. I like chicken. So I get my little, I go to the old lady and she's like, oh, my chickens are fucking right. They left. All my chickens left in the storm. I'm like, okay, cool, man. I'll go help you with your chicken fiasco. And so I figure like there's a rule of threes going on where it's just like, okay, you get 3 chickens and they get a little bit weirder every time. And I'm like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. This is really tedious and boring, but like, at least it's only 3. And then I do the third one. And there's like, no, there's a 4th one actually. And it's like a mile away and you've got to slowly lure it back. And I remember being like, I did 3 of those chickens, and the second I got to where the 4th one was, I was like, I'm not doing this.
You didn't finish it? No,
I was Chris, like, I'm not doing
payoff.
It. Oh, there's
so good.
No payoff could possibly be worth it. I was like, I'm not luring this fucking chicken.
Do you want me to tell you the payoff?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so you get all the chickens. Like Red 13's helping you get these chickens and stuff like that. He's like, as a fellow animal, I'll help you do this stuff. You get the chicken. You're collecting these chickens. The lady kills the chickens immediately and feeds you guys all the chickens right after. And everyone is kind of sad about it. But Red 13 is like horrified about it kind of, but he still eats the chickens because they're just so damn good. And he howls at the end because he's upset with himself. And I just love Chris. How could you not love? They just give you this stupid random quest to like put a box down and drag it for chickens,
dude. I
middle of this crazy game where you're being like Goku flying around cutting shit in half.
Dude, I can't tell you how. I don't know if it's like a pet peeve or what, but like anything where you have to lure, like luring is it infuriates the shit out of me. Like, I felt myself getting like indignant. Like I was like if I was an animal, I'd be growling at the TV. Yeah. It was that visceral. Primal. And then I thought about like, oh my god, I gotta backwards walk up this winding road all the way back to this old lady just for like some like menial payoff of like, oh, maybe it's funny, maybe it's cool. Like I gotta get the hell. And by the way, at that point, Gongaga was really getting on my nerves. So I was like, I gotta get the hell out of here. I was like, I need air. Get me out of here. But yeah, so like, I don't know. I'm in Cosmo Canyon. I will say, I don't know if it's necessarily the wisest thing to stop where I stopped because I kind of completely forgot what the fuck was going on. And so I'm particularly lost. I'm probably going to rely on like I don't know, like a video or like a Wikipedia or something to figure out exactly where I was and like what's going on. Okay. But I feel like the strength of this game really is a lot of the soundtrack and the characters more than what's actually happening. Because every now and again, you like Sephiroth shows up and he's like, I'm a fucking hallucination. And like, you're like, I guess. I don't know. I like seeing Barrett interact with everybody. So like, I guess I'll keep going. And the soundtrack, the soundtrack is killer, dude. Like it's
it's so good.
It is undoubtedly the best part of the game, like to an almost absurd degree. Like I think the combat's really great too, to be fair. Although like I really do hate it when they make me like switch to like the party. Whenever they force me into switching parties into a party that like I haven't put as much time into, or I don't really jive well with. Like I feel like in an RPG you select your party because you like the way like those kind of elements interact with each other. So there's like a boss fight like towards the end of I think chapter 8 or maybe 9, I'm not sure, where they kind of force you into, and I'm sure this happens a couple other times that I'm not really remembering, but they force you into like a kind of like a secondary party. And my secondary party is it's Tifa, Aerith, and Yuffie. And I'm just like, oh man. Like I got really good synergy with Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa. Like I got such a good system going on with them. And I got my ass handed to me by what's that lady? The lady's name with the
Scarlet?
Yeah, Scarlet. I got my ass handed to me by that lady like a million times. I was like, what am I doing? I gotta upgrade my shit. I haven't been paying attention to these people at all. I figured it out eventually, but I still like, Cloud just feels so good to play as specifically that it's anytime you're in combat and you don't have access to him is kind of a bummer. But I'm still liking it. I'm probably gonna, I almost got filtered by Gungaga. I'm not gonna lie, but I pushed through it.
There's no other region like that. So if you're not,
that's what people were telling me. Like, cause I think I mentioned it on the Discord and everybody was like, it was the only place I didn't like in Rebirth. So I was like, okay, good. But yeah, I'm still really enjoying it. Great soundtrack, great combat, great characters. I really like these characters, even though I still kind of don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm still really into just the character dynamics and, you know, the little relationship between them. Although I will say there's one point I didn't know if I liked this too much. Like there was a point where like Tifa asked me something about food. I don't remember what the hell the question was, but I was like, it was like a really innocuous question. She was like, I don't know, what do you want to eat? And I was like, and it gave me like a couple different options, and I saw soup there, and I was like, I don't know, fucking soup. But then Cloud was like, instead of saying soup, he goes, yeah, soup, that's easy. Even a stupid brain dead moron could make soup. And I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't say that. What the hell? And Tifa was like, I'll have you know it's hard to make soup. And then like it said your relationship was negatively impacted or whatever. I'm like, what the hell? That's not what the hell's going on? It's like so BioWare.
Cloud's kind of an idiot in a lot of ways, and that's part of his character, I would say. Just fucking shit up.
It was funny, but it immediately, like the second that happened, I'm not gonna like the millisecond it happened, I was like, oh, I don't care how any of these relationships are going to go for Cloud. Like if there's like a romance plot, like all of it went out the window. I was like, I no longer care, because if you're gonna judge me for my take on soup, I don't need any of y'all.
Well, I don't know, man. Women, you got to be careful what you say. You gotta be careful.
Fair.
Well, this is why, like, Crispy, like, the characters are really good. And I was like, what? All right, what do you have? Cloud is sad. Sephiroth's hot. Barrett's black. That's the characterization. They're not very deep.
Got a lot going on, all right?
I saw the whole game.
And Marlene, his whole history with dying. There's a lot going on there. The whole thing with the reactor. He could show some of it.
I watched Colin play the first one immediately before he played this one. I had to watch him play the first one all over again. I was like, you can't subject me to this. We share a living room. And then I watched him play through this whole game, and I was sick of it. Like halfway through.
You were probably listening to Game Grumps or some shit when he was playing. So I don't care what you got to say, Micah, all right?
The characters they're good. They're good. Like I like their interactions with each other. You know what I mean? Like I think they're fun characters. And I'm not saying it's like Breaking Bad or anything. I just think they're well suited to the world. And I will say Yuffie. I hate Yuffie. I hate Yuffie with a passion.
Hated Yuffie.
Dustin hates Yuffie
that
as well.
That little Chardley boy. I hated Chardley too.
Chadley?
I skip every cutscene with Chardley. I skip. Like there's like
it's Chadley.
you fucking rewired my brain into thinking it was Chardley. But I haven't heard him speak in so long. That's like, dude. Every time I do like the what is it the open world missions and like Chardley comes on the radio, you can hear your little device ringing. Yeah. And I immediately, the second I hear it, I pause, skip. Like every single, he's terrible. And I just, Yuffie is like a specific type of character where I'm like, I can't, man. Like this this game is already like very, very anime. But then like Yuffie comes in and it just becomes like a parody of itself. To the point where I almost like appreciate the subtlety of like the base Final Fantasy VII remake without her. Like it's crazy how much she just like her mocap, everything about it is like completely different. She's like over animated. It almost feels like, have you ever seen, do you guys know the famous Wayne Brady Christopher Lloyd film Food Fight?
No.
She's animated like a Japanese food fight, and it's quite upsetting. Like it's overacting quite a bit. And she's written that way too, to be fair. Like I'm sure some people like find it endearing or some people like it, but it is the most great. She plays, although of the women on the team, she plays like the most satisfyingly. I like her gameplay like quite a lot, which is frustrating for me because it's just like, damn. I gotta put up with this.
You played Intermission, right?
I played a little bit of it, but I was just too eager to get into Rebirth, so I just like watched it. I was like, I can't.
So you at least know what happened.
I know what her deal is. Okay. Yeah, like, I'm not.
I was like, please tell me you at least know.
No, of course, yeah. Right, I was just fine. Like, I got like Rebirth was already out by the time I was like finishing Remake, and then like I thought about like, do I jump into Integrate? And then I looked up how long it was, and I was like, I think I just rather. I feel like I'm just gonna get burned out quicker. Yeah. So like, I just wanted to jump into the sequel so I could have stuff to talk about on Sacred. But I know her deal. Like, I don't think it's like a bad story or anything. I just like her performance.
Yeah, her personality.
So over the top.
Yeah, it is. Well, like you said, Final Fantasy VII is like a very 90s anime game. Definitely. How everything is portrayed.
It is, but it's like to a degree that I can appreciate until she shows up. Like, I don't know, there's something about it. She shows up and it's like, and it becomes like Bobo or something. And it feels like such a jarring shift.
Yeah, she is jarring, I guess. Yeah, you could say.
But yeah, her shuriken is dope as hell though, I will say.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Michael, a lady, wrote in, Chris, as a fellow cynical 30-year-old gamer, I've always wondered why you've never addressed the writing in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm 37 hours into the game, and I'm honestly shocked at how bad the writing is. None of the characters talk or act like real people. Everything is so over the top that they feel like walking memes. There's absolutely no subtlety. The dialogue is filled with awkward pauses that seem intentionally designed to hammer a point home, making every nearly conversation feel like artificial and forced. So my question to you, Chris, didn't this bother you? Did none of this make you cringe? Were you actually able to connect with any of these characters? I nearly tore out my hair when Yuffie met the gang and literally started smacking her head because she did something dumb. And before anyone says, oh, it's just a Japanese thing or something similar, let's not forget, we all played Final Fantasy 16. Square Enix has already shown they're capable of writing dialogue that sounds like actual human interaction. All right, so Chris, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I know what people are talking about when they say that. I just also feel like there are different styles of writing for different genres and different things. Like, I feel like you don't want a play to be written like Breaking Bad, and you don't want an RPG to be written like I don't know, like a Dostoevsky novel or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's different styles of dialogue and delivery and writing that I think. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth strike me, I think, because of their over-the-top nature in both design, setting, and style, like it strikes me more as theater than film, if that makes sense. Like, so when people are overacting, that's kind of in a world that is so over the top. I think it makes sense because I don't think you could have somebody like, I don't think you could have a character like a subtle character like Walter White talking to Kate Sith. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work. Like it demands like a different type of performance, or like in like a comedy, like Seinfeld is not acted realistically at all. You know, like there's like it's well acted and it's well performed, but nobody acts that way. But nobody acts that way because that would be an insane way to act in the real world, but also because the story of the world demands that people act that way, because that heightens it and it makes it funny. And so for me, I understand what people are saying, because there are other games, like I think Final Fantasy 16 is probably one of those, where Final Fantasy 16 feels a lot more grounded. It feels a lot more like Game of Thronesy, or like it feels a little bit more like it's trying to be a little bit more real. So the performances in that game being a lot more subtle make a lot more sense. Whereas I feel like it would be very jarring in this. Like you cannot have you can't have Red 13 and Kate Sith in a game where like people are acting grounded. Like it's immediately it's like Kirby and Schindler's List. Like it would break everything.
Yeah.
And so I get what you're saying, but I appreciate it and I like it. But there is, again, a balancing act where I think Cloud is overly brooding. I think Barrett is overly like, yeah, let's go get materia. Like I think it's over the top, but it works. And then I think Yuffie is the one that really trips it. Like I think that's where she tips the scales too far into it being a little bit too unbalanced, maybe, like from a character perspective. Yeah, I don't disagree. I just feel like it's suited to the world and the story that it's trying to tell. Like, I mean, they're literal like Dementors flying around, and there's talking animals, and it's absurd, you know. And you can only take it so seriously, and if you're going to take it seriously, you almost have to kind of enter into the melodrama, because real drama would be a little bit clashing, I think.
Yeah, it's not trying to be like The Last of Us or anything in its writing, like tone and anything like that. So
yeah,
I think what you brought up is important.
There's a time and place for grounded, realistic dialogue, and like people give me like all the games that I like are. I would argue most of the games that I like aren't really groundedly written at all. Like, in fact, a lot of lines in games that I love make no sense at all, but they're just they're dope. You know, like, or they fit the tone. Like I remember like one of the Halo lines that everybody makes fun of. It's like, they're requesting a rally point. Where should they go? To war. And it's like, it's dumb. Like it's stupid, but it's awesome. It fits. It fits what they're doing. Yeah. It would be different than like Modern Warfare, where it's or like the old Call of Duties, where they're like, you know, they show real ass people being exploded on Normandy. Like it's different.
What do you think about? So you're enjoying the game, and are you looking forward to see where the narrative's going and everything like that? Are you doing that?
I'm really more looking forward to more character stuff. Like I feel a little bit disconnected from the main plot, just because
the main plot is find Sephiroth for the entire game.
Yeah, the whole thing is just look for Sephiroth, and he shows up in your little Hot Topic dreams every now and again, and he convinces you to do weird shit. And it's, you know, it's fine, but like I'm really more into like the strain or growing between characters, and like that's what's really pulling me through. I think I probably did myself a little bit of a disservice from like quitting in the middle or like taking a break, because I don't think it bridges the gap. Obviously, it wasn't designed to bridge the gap. You know what I mean? Because there was no gap to bridge. But I probably should have at least like done like a little bit of a refresher course, because there's stuff that I feel like I'm forgetting, or stuff that I'm that's ringing kind of a bell, but I'm like, did I meet this person already? Like, but yeah, I think it's mostly about character stuff for me at this point in time, and it's pulling me through it. I'm really excited to see where things go. It was cool to see Sid fly the airship. I was like, although the second he shows up and it's like it says question mark, who's this? It's like, that's Sid.
Yeah,
like I'm not even like
know.
Yeah, like I'm not even like a Final Fantasy guy like that. Like I wouldn't necessarily be able to clock that normally, but like the second he showed up, I was like, oh, that's clearly a Sid.
Yeah,
like he's too integral at this very pivotal moment.
Yeah,
but
you could definitely tell who's going to be like party members, I guess. Just like they're designing their interactions at the party. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, because a lot of the NPCs are designed like so intentionally. Like you can almost tell by the poly count on some of them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it reminds me of like PS2 games. You could like 100% tell what is like a party member character or something like that compared to normal NPC, because they had like a blue shirt and like green pants, and that's what an NPC was in that entire game. That's about it.
Yeah. Oh, you have you have a hairstyle I haven't seen on anybody. I guess you're gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just. Do you think you're gonna keep going right now, or are you gonna take a break again?
No, I think I'll see it through. Like I looked up, I'm in I forget what chapter it was, but I think I'm 10. I think I'm in 10, chapter 10.
Okay.
Cosmo Canyon. If that's not accurate, it's really close. I looked it up. There's like 14 chapters, I think, in Rebirth. Okay. At least according to Google AI. I don't know how reliable that is, but I just went with it. So I'm close enough to the end where it's like, I'm sure I've got a lot of game left to go. I definitely want to maybe get back into trying to get a lot of stuff done on these maps. I probably won't go back to Gongaga. It's fucking annoying. But so I've got a lot of game left, I think, but I think I'll stick with it. It's also, again, the only game right now on the Pro that seems to benefit from having Pro functionality at all. So like, I mean, I feel like I have to in some ways, because
it looks really good.
It does. Yeah, it's great.
I was really surprised. Well, I guess not surprised, but I was very pleased, I should say, when I booted it up. I was like, oh, this looks very good. So nice now. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, like I genuinely didn't mind how bad it looked before, but like I see it now and I'm like, oh, like this is...
Yeah. It's like night and day, the difference. Did you like the parade segment? Yeah,
that was... that was... Oh, man. This is what I'm talking about, where it's like fragmenting my brain. Was that was Rebirth, right? That wasn't Remake?
That's Rebirth,
I played them so close to each other. But yeah, no, I dug that whole sequence. It's a bit far back in my memory now because it was like back in April.
It's been a while.
But like I liked that entire, honestly, like I liked the entire first half of Rebirth when I was playing it. I got to Gold Saucer and everybody was like, let's ride the Ferris wheel, or like, let's get cotton candy at, I don't know, the shack. And I'm like, I don't want to, aren't we supposed to be doing something important? Like,
yeah. Couldn't you relate to Cloud there then and Barrett? They didn't want to do that shit.
No, exactly. But like, I didn't have I don't know. That was the point where I was just like, I don't know, maybe I'll take a break. But now that I'm like past that and back into like the meat of the game that I liked, like I'm into it again. Like I think that's where the game is strongest, is when it's like just letting itself be a game. You know what I mean? Yeah. As opposed to as opposed to being like a tech demo. And so like that's what it kind of feels like sometimes when you're like in the mini game hubs, where it's just like, look at all the stuff we could do. Yeah. And it's like, I was never a fan of like, even when the original Remake did stuff like that, when it would like, oh, it's time for the crane game. It's time to pick up a big box with a big hand and move it. It's like, I am not playing this for this, you know? But yeah, no, I'm super into it. I'm getting back into the flow of like just kind of combat, and the biggest hurdle to get over coming back into it was just like remembering like the menu systems, like and remembering where everything was, and remembering what certain things did, like how to upgrade, like how to move things around. But it kind of falls in pretty quick for me anyway. Like I think I got back into the swing of things within like probably like an hour. And it's a solid game. It's really fun to play. The combat's great. I love anytime I'm in combat, I'm having a blast. But
combat's good.
I'm definitely gonna stick with it.
Cool, awesome. All right, briefly, I'm just gonna talk about Overwatch 2. So I've been playing Overwatch 2 actually with like Ben and Lockmort and a couple of our other friends occasionally. Which got me to come back to it is they did an event in the game that's Overwatch 1, essentially. It's Overwatch Classic, I guess, when like Overwatch first came out and it was a phenomenon. So they did that, and it was really cool to hop back in there. Chris, I'm sure you played the game when it came out around that time too as well. So it was really fun to play a lot of the old maps. It's 6v6 again because Overwatch 2 is 5v5 now, so the dynamic is completely changed. The characters feel way slower, though, from what I remember. Like, their movement is just not as good, I guess I would say, but like the pacing of the matches I like a lot. I kind of miss 6v6 now that I've played 6v6 again. I'm like, damn, I kind of wish it was like this again. But yeah, it was really fun to play Classic and like a lot of the way the characters that they move and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. I'm happy they brought that back, and I guess they're going to be adding in like patches throughout it to kind of recreate what the patch cycle was like in the first game. So like they'll introduce Ana and all that kind of stuff, which I always thought was a really fun hero. So that's been really cool. But we've also been playing actually just Overwatch 2 proper in a lot of ways, doing like ranked matches. And I got to say, it's been a lot of fun. I've been having a really good time. It could be just because I'm playing with my friends, and that always is a bonus playing these games. But
yeah,
I still think as many faults and blunders Overwatch 2 has had, particularly in like no PvE now, just whatever, forget it. Stuff
JK.
Like that. Yeah, just kidding. We're getting rid of that. I still think the game mechanically is really fun. I think the characters are really creative and still really fun. It is like, it's so funny playing Overwatch 2 after Concord came out again this year or earlier this year. And Concord was trying to be Overwatch in so many ways. And it's just like, man, Overwatch does it still so much better than you guys even remotely came close to. It's like their design. First of all, the character designs way better, way more appealing immediately. The characters are way cooler. They're mechanic wise. Like, I've been playing this new healer, and I think her name's called Juno. She's like, her design is way cooler. It's like she almost looks like an astronaut kind of, but she kind of like floats around and shoots people with this laser gun, and it heals people and also damages them. So you can put like a speed boost down for everyone to run through. A lot of cool, fun mechanics like that. And once you start to really dive into the game, you start to understand the synergy of these classes or characters working together. So it's about building that between your team. There's like a whole lot of maps I've never played before, so they're all really fun. It's been a good time. And we've only played for like, I don't know, maybe 5 days, but so far it's been really a good time. The skins are very expensive in some of those packs. I don't know what it's like. I guess, I mean, Call of Duty, we've been playing Call of Duty every now and then too, and I look at Call of Duty skins, I'm like, man, I can't believe how expensive just live service stuff is. It's crazy, man. $25, $30 for a skin. It's nuts, man.
It's half a fucking video game.
Crazy.
Yeah, and like the Call of Duty ones suck that they have in the game right now. They're so bad.
They're terrible.
I looked at the battle pass and I was like, I don't want a single thing in this entire battle pass. I don't care about anything in here. I'm not going to get this. It's like they've had funny stuff in the past. Like they had like, I think they had like Gundam skins or something at one point. They had John McClane in T-1000, stuff like that. That stuff's funny. But it's just like, man, you guys' skins suck. I don't want to spend any money on this game. So you got to work on that. But Overwatch, much better skins in many regards. There's still some that are pretty bad as well, but
yeah,
I'm not going to buy them anyways because they're so damn expensive, and I just can't justify it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know.
Overwatch 2, like I've been curious. Like my nephews keep bugging me to get on, and I just like I haven't.
Oh, really?
I haven't done it, but like I don't know. Like I liked the original Overwatch when it first came out. I didn't love it. Like it definitely felt to me like, especially like with the movement speed, like where it was just like you could tell it was like a little bit clunkier, or like it functioned pretty well, and it was well designed, and I thought it looked great. But you could tell like from like an FPS perspective, it's like this is definitely like maybe not their first foray, but like an early foray into doing something like this, where they I don't know if they necessarily know how to make an FPS that feels amazing to just step into. But playing with friends was like really fun. I think I only played it for like a couple months before I got back, because I was playing. There was a lot of shooters back then, and they were coming out constantly. Like it was like I remember I got sucked into Battlefield 1, and then I think Doom was around then or something like that, and then Titanfall 2 was like a little bit after that. So it's just like I was immediately sucked away from that game. But
Yeah.
But Overwatch is influential. It's big. It's important. Like I should give it a shot. Like I don't know. I have it. I don't know why. I have it. I own it.
Free anyways now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess so. Yeah. That doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. That was a whole snafu. Yeah. They've had a lot of misses, I would say, how they've handled Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
Kind of a disaster in many ways. But I still think the core, there is something interesting there and cool, unique, and I think it still works well in a lot of ways. Maybe if I played the game constantly, I would like find things to pick apart about it. But so far, right now, still really fun. I'm having a great time playing it. I don't know how long I'll play it.
Who's your go-to character right now?
So for what we do now is I usually either play DPS or healer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with tank, but it's probably the worst time with it. If we're playing DPS, my 3 best are probably Tracer, Ashe, and Genji are probably my 2 best. I can play like Junkrat and stuff like that, all that. So it can be flexible. But for healer, Ana is one of my favorites, probably my favorite. And
Ana's great.
Juno is one of my favorites now. I used to like Zenyatta a lot too. I just haven't played him. But yeah, those are usually the ones I gravitate towards. If I'm a tank, I like Reinhardt a lot, and Winston the monkey. He's awesome.
Yeah.
I love hopping around, just getting in people's face, dude. But yeah, I don't know. Like Chris, who did you gravitate when you played it?
When I first played it, I was Tracer was the obvious one because she was like the face, and she had like I think
her design is really cool. Like
she's got a great design.
Toolkit is really fun, really awesome.
Yeah, her rewind time shade is really satisfying to use, and it's really weird, which helps it stick out. But like I was Pharah, Roadhog, and McCree.
Yeah,
and a little bit of Junkrat too. Junkrat's such an asshole that it's just like he's great. It's hard not to want to play him. But Pharah I loved because you could Pharah I love specifically because you could play her on controller like really effectively. Like you didn't really need accuracy because she was all about splash damage, and like just concussion blasting people off the map is so funny.
Yeah, it is.
Like it is because Roadhog chaining people into like holes and stuff. It's just shit was good. I feel like I remember they patched that out or something, or maybe they patched it back in. I feel like they did a fix for that, and everybody was like, "No, don't do that."
Yeah, they did something. I don't remember quite what it is. You can still pull people in the pits, but I think it was like kind of broken before we could like do it around a wall or something.
You could do it around corners, yeah.
Yeah.
That was dope as hell.
Yeah, it was fun.
I was having a field day with that.
Yeah, that was fun shit. Micah, I know you used to like Call of Duty or at least in like Gears of War. Did you ever play Overwatch?
Oh yeah, I was really into Overwatch 1.
Oh,
I was a Symmetra main. I loved Symmetra. She was my favorite. And I would also play Roadhog. I loved Soldier 76 for obvious reasons. But no, I really liked that game. I remember though feeling an unspeakable anger when they changed Symmetra. And then I was like, all right, I guess I'll try a different character. And then I was like, I hate it. I'm not a creature of change. I'm a creature of habit. So like as soon as they took her away as being like a viable option, I was just like, well, I'll go back to Gears 4 or whatever the fuck was out at that time. Like I can't do this anymore. But no, I really enjoyed Overwatch. I always though, there's that like famous tweet of like a kid got sent home with a note from their teacher. And it was like, Carl called someone a Hanzo main, and I don't know what that means, but I know it was an insult. And I'll say that to Colin of like whatever Hanzo main, like
he has no idea what you're talking about. That's so funny. That's awesome. All right, guys, it's time for Sort It Out. On this segment, we just talk about something that needs sorting in the game industry or something that's just bothering us. Could be a company, game, human being, something like that. Now, I got one locked and loaded right now, so I'll just go first. Today, and recently, before this, we learned about the Game Awards, the nominees and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, hey, this year, DLC is going to be eligible for Game of the Year for some reason. Don't know why. It is what it is. That is what it is. So when we saw that, everyone was like, well, it's going to be Elden Ring now. That's going to be nominated. And sure enough, the nominees did come out for Game of the Year, and Elden Ring is one of the nominees. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love Elden Ring. I love that game. It was my game of the year last year or the year before when it came out. What was that, 2022? It's been a long time, dude. But they have that for the game of the year now. And it's just weird to me that they decided to do this. Why not have a category that's best DLC or something like that instead? You already have best ongoing game. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I guess you could make the argument, it's like, hey, this is the best thing I played this year. And I totally understand that. But it is a continuation of a game that already existed. And you need that game, the original base of the game, to play. It's not like it's standalone DLC or anything like that. It is a companion piece to it. Just for people if they don't know, the Game of the Year nominees are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor. So all those games are awesome, and I love Elden Ring, I said, but I just wish another game got a chance to be nominated instead of Elden Ring. Elden Ring had its flowers when it came out, actually. That game had one Game of the Year. So I just don't know what they were kind of thinking about this whole thing. Like, why? Why do this? It doesn't make sense to me. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, no, I feel like it's insane. Like, best ongoing game is already there. If there's not enough like DLC expansion packs to have its own category, like let's say like maybe this was like the only one of consequence, shove it in there. Then you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like this seems. It just seems
it's silly to me.
It seems like double dipping. And I've seen the argument about like, well, you know, shows get nominated for years that they didn't start in because they have a really good season. And it's like, well, it's different. Yeah. It's just these are different things. And also, I just feel like there are other games that could have went there. Yeah. Not necessarily and by the way, I'm not saying games that could have won necessarily, but games that definitely like deserve to be in the conversation for a defining game for the year of 2024 that were not Shadow of the Erdtree. I think of Helldivers 2 immediately. I was just like that game had like all sorts of, but dude, that was like probably the biggest splash I've seen in a long time. Where like everybody was talking about shit. It got everybody on again. It was nuts when that game came out, and it's still doing pretty well. So like I don't know. It seems weird for that to just not be counted. But a DLC is. It seems.
Yeah, it's very strange to me. There is absolutely enough DLC every year to make a category for it. For God's sakes, they have like best sports sim racing racing category, sports racing. It's like, who gives a fuck about that? Honestly, like fighting game, they have enough for category. Like fighting games, like if fighting games was so bad, they put Sifu into a fighting game category one year. It's just like,
that's right.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Keely? I know you don't vote on this, Keely, as someone who actually did vote on these awards in the past. I know he doesn't, but it's just like, you gotta be the arbiter or something about this. Like, you can't allow this kind of shit to happen. I don't know. Maybe he's just experimenting with stuff, but I think it's a bad idea to include like expansions for Game of the Year. Just make it its own separate thing. Yeah. Micah, what do you think about all this?
Oh, I totally agree. Because thinking of some of my all-time favorite DLC, like Witcher 3, Blood and Wine, Heart of Stone, but I wouldn't nominate those to be the game of the year. They are a separate thing. I feel like it should just be like best DLC, best game expansion should be the category. And because there are enough of them to compete against each other. But having it be up there in the nominees is just weird. Like it's, because people also argue with how long it takes to play Shadow of the Erdtree 2, and it's like, all right, it's a really big DLC, but still, like, it's just, I don't like that it's in that category. I think they should just have their own separate but equal category for those games.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. Like, I can name 3 expansions off the top of my head. We have Shadow of the Erdtree, you got World of Warcraft War Within, you got Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail. It's like, that's 3 right away, and I didn't even look at it. It's like, come on, dude. It's ridiculous. Sort that shit out, Keely. All right. Micah, do you have anything this week that needs sorting?
Honestly, I'm pretty content with the gaming world right now. The only thing, we're talking about Final Fantasy, 7, the remake, and the only thing like, Rebirth. And I'm like, where's Don Corneo? I need more of him in there. Not enough Don Corneo in these games. Hottest character they've created, and they just kind of stopped talking to him. I disagree with that completely. I would say more Don Corneo, please. Don Corneo standalone game. You know, I'm just that's what I want.
I don't think I've ever heard the name Don Corneo more than I have in the last 10 seconds.
Do you guys think he's hot?
No, Micah. We don't.
What's not like? Why? He's like this like Italian stallion.
Dudes, first of all,
I'm not saying. Do you want to? I'm not
me out.
I'm not saying do you want to fuck him. I'm saying like you can objectively say is he hot?
No, his hair sucks.
He's got this like greasy quality.
Too fat. Yeah, he's a little too greasy.
He looks like Jeff Ross. Do you know who Jeff Ross? Do you know who Jeff Ross is?
He's like the funniest man in the world.
Yeah, but like I mean, look, man, God bless. He actually does He actually does. Like I'm looking at a picture of him now. It's like he shockingly looks a lot like Jeff Ross. It's actually like actually really actually genuinely jarring. If you just put that hair, if you put that hair and clothes on him, like he would nail that costume.
Well, hey, when they make the Final Fantasy live action movie, there we go. We got our Don Corneo lined up.
And then they inevitably cast Timothy Chalamet as Cloud.
Oh my God. And then we'll have Tifa will be short and black and, you know, we're going to do that. it'll be great. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Who's the girl from Precious? We get her. Oh, they're going to love it.
That's Tifa? All right.
Yeah. This will work. I'm making this movie. I have all the money in the world. This is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. Chris, anything for you this week?
This is sorted out, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, BioWare.
You
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like need I say more is kind of a thing, but like, dude. So I don't know. I have some friends who are begrudgingly playing through Dragon Age because they want to hope, and that they have a light in them that has yet to be extinguished. I'm envious of that, but they're playing through it, and even they're like, man, these are the biggest Dragon Age fans that I know. And they're just constantly in our text chat complaining about it. Just like, why is this written this way? It's apparently not like what's frustrating about it. Apparently, from their perspective is that like, it's not even really a train wreck. Like like there's parts of it that are really good. And then it's just like the fact that it's sharing a table with like some of the worst writing and some of the worst progression and like all this other stuff. Is the frustrating part. Like it would almost be better if it was just a travesty like Anthem or or Andromeda, where it was just like, the gameplay was fine, but like everything else was terrible. Like the fact that there are shining glimpses of hope of like what could have been, which is, I agree, like the most frustrating thing about playing a game that is like that fails to live up to expectations. It's like, damn, I see it. I see what this could have been, and it just isn't, and that's heartbreaking. But the reason I would say sorted out BioWare is because like, dude, this is the third one, man. You know, you have and I guess they're technically getting better ? Because Andromeda was terrible, like just unsalvageably bad. Anthem, nobody wanted it, and they definitely shouldn't have made it, and it wasn't worth making. But I remember playing it and being like, if another studio made this, it'd be probably fine. Like, you know, it's really more about the opportunity cost of like what game didn't get made. That like what game was on the cross that allowed that got Anthem through, you know?
Yeah.
But I remember playing it and I remember feeling like, this plays fine and flying's kind of okay. Could have used more time, I guess, and a completely different design philosophy. But like, there's something about this that's fine. And apparently Dragon Age is like, it's the most technically sound BioWare game in a while. Like there's like no bugs, the environments are gorgeous, and apparently like the last stretch of it is really solid. So it's just like they're getting better, I guess, but like three not hits in a row like that is kind of like, what are you doing? And then they expect us to be excited for Mass Effect. I'm like, I don't know what I can't even look. I love Mass Effect. Okay, I adore it. It's Mass Effect 2 is probably one of my favorite games ever. I love that game. I couldn't even begin to give a shadow of a fuck about this new Mass Effect that's coming out. It's just like, it's over. Like, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm set.
Yeah.
So sort it out. If that's even possible at this point.
If it's even, yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I feel like that studio could be closed any day, and I just be like, okay, there it is.
There it is.
So yeah, they got some work to do if they're going to survive. All right, this is from the 1-1. Hello, everyone. I just want to give a sorted out to IGN. They posted on Twitter 6 different times last week of their score on Mario and Luigi Brothership. Yes, we get it. You didn't like the game. Not saying the score was wrong or anything. It's an opinion. But man, it really felt like the quit having fun meme. Well, that's engagement, I guess. That's why they're doing it, because people are engaging with it. I remember they did this with Starfield as well. They're just like a million things. Whatever is getting people to look at their stuff, they will do. So
yeah. I think ultimately, like, we kind of have to stop looking at companies. I think we humanize companies too much, especially online, where it's just like, oh, they're posting this thing over and over again, like they must feel X way. It's like, no, they're posting it over and over again because the data says that they should. You know, I don't think anybody's sitting there at IGN indignantly like, oh, I'm so excited to repost that Brothership review again. Like, oh, it's gonna piss so many people off. Like, I don't think that's the guiding light. Yeah, fuck Nintendo. I hope Miyamoto dies. Fuck you. Like, I don't think that's like the guiding light. I think ultimately, we project that onto them because like we assume. I mean, we interact with social media like people do, I guess. Yeah. And so, like, we assume that everybody does. And it's like, it's not really the case.
Nope. It's like you said, just data. All right. Data. This is from Greg Albee. Sorted out Micah as someone from Plymouth, a.k.a. real Massachusetts, who has lived in Boston for many years and went to UMass, Amherst. This whole eating molasses, bread in a can, etc., I've never heard of people doing that or doing any of those things. And Massachusetts doesn't have a Z in it. My longtime girlfriend and Springfield East Long Meadow doesn't speak like or eat like you either. These traditions are fake news. Stand down. But for real, you're a gem to Last Stand Media and give us a good laugh whenever whenever it's your butthole thirsting for shower water or your gross restaurant takes like Cracker Barrel or Friendlies. We enjoy the comedy you bring week in, week out. Butthole thirsting for shower water? No, never mind. Yeah. Don't even explain it to me.
No. We talked about that with Cog and Maddie. I can't remember if Chris was there for that. I don't think
I was. And here I am again.
Right. Brad, you're in the shower, okay? And you're rinsing off your butt, and a little sip of water just gets right in your butthole, right? Like, that happened to you?
Into the butthole? I don't think into the butthole.
Yeah, no, right on in.
Hey, clean the butthole, yeah.
Yeah, well, a little water just shoot right in.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about shooting right in. I don't know, Chris. You ever get water shot in your asshole?
I'm not trying to have this happen, but it happens sometimes. This was a whole thing because I asked Colin, I was like, when your butthole takes a sip of water in the shower, and he was like, what? And I was 100% like, this happens to everybody. He's going to say, oh my God, yeah, I hate that. And instead he was like, why? What are you saying? And it's like, oh, all right. I thought this happened to everyone.
Just, you being a psychopath, as always.
I got it. Here's the thing. Whenever I'm always going to be upfront and honest that I'm from Western Massachusetts because it's very different. Because everyone assumes I'm from Boston, and I literally never noticed that until I met Colin, and he was like, "Why are you saying it like that?" And I was like what? And like no one had ever pointed that out except Colin. He pointed out a lot of things with my accent that I find interesting, but it just is. It's like, I'm always going to clarify that I'm not from Boston. Eastern Mass, Central Mass, very different. All right. Mm-hmm. Western Mass is a strange place, and we're mountainous people. It's weird out there. And I wholeheartedly admit that, like, no, this isn't your experience growing up in Boston or something like that, but that it's as Massachusetts as it gets out there.
Mountain people. What is it? Like Markarth or whatever? Like, what are you talking? Like
a dwarf or something?
I mean, well, like, where else? You guys grow up going ice fishing with your parents. Like, it's like fucking, it's a strange place out there. Like, these are activities that were normal to us, of like going ice fishing with my dad every winter, like shit like that. And then finding out that nobody else does this. And I was like, oh, all right. It's just the bread in a can. Okay. Yeah. Like, because Chris, I'm sure you remember the SpongeBob episode with the canned bread. But for me as a child, I was like, yeah, that exists. That wasn't funny. There's nothing funny about Squidward eating canned bread. That's a real fucking thing.
I love that. That wasn't a joke to you.
You're right. It's like, yeah, we have that at the grocery store. It's there.
Squidward buying bread in a can was supposed to be like just a symbol of sadness, and it was just like, yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's supposed to be absurd, and I'm like, yes, I love that stuff. We eat it with hot dogs.
They have it. Canned bread.
Canned bread.
And it's like, dude, yeah, and it rocks. All right, it's delicious. Find it in your baked bean aisle.
Wait, but is it just bread shoved in a can? Like, what is it?
They bake it in the can. It's baked in the can.
Oh, so it's like
it's got the ridges on it, like cranberry sauce.
Oh my god. What the fuck?
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm going to buy some, and next time we meet, I'm going to bring it and everyone's going to eat it.
This looks insane. This
is the B&M brand?
B&M canned bread.
Yeah.
This is one of the most bewildering things I've ever seen, because this looks nothing like bread, first off.
Well, Colin didn't like it. I got him to try it. They only had the raisin kind here. I feel like maybe you would have liked it if I could have found plain, but all they had here was raisin, which is good, but I prefer plain. You got to slice it, toast it, put butter on it. You eat it with hot dogs and baked beans. All right. It's fantastic, but you gotta have it the right way.
All right. You know what? Next betting thing we do, betting episode, whatever we do, maybe the loser will have to eat canned bread on Sacred or something like that.
Yeah.
So you hope you don't lose.
No, you'll be a winner. All right, because it's delicious.
That's the fear. That's the fear. Is that what if you eat it and you're like, this is actually amazing. I think I'm only gonna get bread this way.
You transform into some sort of like Micah. Like it's like you're just like strange and odd and gangly and
need water for my butthole. Yeah.
Gangly. I love that word.
All right. Let's move on from this heinous topic. Keep it up now. The exact opposite of sorted out. Stuff we're pleased with in the game industry. I'm pleased with nothing in the game industry right now. Actually, that's not true. I guess Dragon Quest is pretty pleasing. I'm pretty happy about that. Softball, though. Micah, anything you're really pleased about?
No, it is Dragon Quest. I'm just loving these HD remakes of these gorgeous pixel games. I'm just loving like all that. Give me more of those. I'd also like an Octopath 3, but this is fine. This is very good. I'm happy.
Okay. Nice. Chris, anything you're pleased with?
Yeah, I just want to be really specific with this. I'm looking up the specific. I want to say keep it up to this port studio, the studio that's making they made the Tomb Raider Legacy Collection earlier this year, 1 through 3. And they're doing Soul Reaver next, Legacy of Kain.
Oh, yeah.
Which I am just stoked about. And the fact that these games are getting... First of all, I want to say keep it up to those guys, because they're remaking PS1 games in the way that I want PS1 games to be remade, which is to say very minor touch-ups, but still keeping like the spirit of the angular kind of look of those older games, like the style of them. They're not going in and, Final Fantasy VII remaking it, you know what I mean? Right. Which that's cool too, by the way. Like that's dope. I'm into that as well. But like, there is something like when I played through some of the Tomb Raider games earlier this year, and when I see Legacy of Kain running in the way that it's running and looking the way that it's looking, I'm like, damn. Like, I look at it and I can't help but compare it to like the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, and I'm like, I kind of wish Crash Bandicoot was more like this.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I feel like Spyro is actually like a lot better the way it looks now. So it's like it's a mixed bag. Like I think certain games, handle it differently, but there's something about that angular like design and that like the blockiness and that is just so enjoyable from like from a nostalgic perspective for me, that like when it's lost in like a really, really, you know, ambitious remake, like when it's all lost to like, oh, let's put all this foliage and make like really complex geometry and like redo all the cutscenes. It's like, that's cool, and I appreciate it, but I do wish there were ways to experience that older style, and it's cool that they're going that route. I dig it. I'm super excited about Legacy of Kain. That is a game I've been asking for, that game, for that remake or just a port of that game for like probably since since we started Sacred. So to finally be here is pretty cool. So keep it up to those guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. It looks really nice. The Tomb Raider games, I played a little bit of them and they were good. Like the new visual style worked well, but you could swap between that and the new one or the old one. So I think Soul Reaver's like that as well. So that's great.
I think it might be. Yeah, it's cool. Like, and granted, like to be fair, like Tomb Raider, I played Tomb Raider when I was a kid. I was never like hugely into them, but like it was cool to go back and play them and just be like, damn, I love the way this looks. Like this is so like it's easy on the eyes, but it's still, you could tell that there's like a historical kind of like it almost feels like going through a museum in some way. It's like, this is dope. Super stoked about Soul Reaver. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's like people like to say it's kind of like the way you remember it looking or something like that.
Yeah.
Updating it for that. But yeah, I'm stoked about that as well. Did those come out this year or is that next year?
So Soul Reaver comes out, I think it comes out a couple days before after my birthday. So like I think a couple like December or something.
Okay.
Soul
okay, this year then.
Legacy of Kain remake. Yeah, this is December 10th.
Okay, nice. Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on those.
Yeah.
Alrighty, this is from Morgan Williams. A rare good day to you summoners, or a very good day to you summoners. I'd be like, what the fuck?
It's like subconscious, something out.
Yeah. I just have to say, keep it up to Nintendo for the warm, cozy feelings of nostalgia. I was in the hospital for a month having emergency surgery due to Crohn's disease. From my long recovery time in the hospital, I played Ocarina of Time. The ability to play that game and just shut off everything else around me was invaluable. Instead of feeling like my world was coming apart, I was transported back to a feeling of pure joy. Thank you for your time and everything you all do. Yeah, shout out Ocarina of Time. All right,
Crohn's disease. That's like that's said we're like old mysterious women follow you around, right?
Yes. Yes, that is exactly what it is.
It's a scary affliction.
Yeah. This is from James Sprulis. Good day, Sacred Summoners. I have a keep it up for Sony's cross save. I recently got a second PS5 for my OLED TV, and I have been playing Horizon Remastered across both consoles, and the cross save function works seamlessly without me having to do anything beyond turn the game on and play. So keep it up to Sony's crossplay. Cheers and beers from down under, James. I don't know why I did that at the end, but thank you, James. Have you messed with the cross save at all, Chris? Like, do you have two PlayStation? Oh, you do.
Yeah,
you have
now
two PlayStations now. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had to deal with it before. It's weird. I've had a Series S and X before, and I feel like for whatever reason they nail it. Like I don't think about Xbox's cross save feature at all because it just kind of functions like without having to, like I've never had to upload my save to the cloud like you do on like you used to have to on PlayStation. And you kind of still do sometimes. But the PS5 to PS5 Pro thing is weird because like some games do it and then other games don't, and I'm kind of confused as to what does and doesn't, and I don't really understand what the barrier is exactly. But I mean, cross save is undoubtedly a great feature, and I'm glad that like it's getting better on PlayStation. It's definitely picking up. Or it's definitely like more reliable than it used to be. But I do want them to catch up to Xbox in some way in that regard, because it really is. I have never once had to think about it on that platform at all. It just always just sort of works. Even from like Xbox to Xbox S to PC on like the Game Pass for PC thing. It's like it just, there's no like thought in my mind that like, oh, the progress won't carry over. But it's always in the back of my mind with PlayStation games, even if it's only true like 10% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Micah, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you have been playing The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. You have completed it now,
Yes.
which is interesting because you played A Link to the Past and you're like, nah, I'm good. But you played essentially A Link to the Past 2 now. So how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, so I really liked this game. My hero, Carl Weathers, I had to change the spelling a little bit because they wouldn't allow all the characters, but he was Carl Weathers in my heart. Took me about 16 and a half hours to complete this game. I enjoyed the whole experience. This definitely was a step up in difficulty from Link's Awakening in terms of getting from dungeon to dungeon. The kind of basics with A Link Between Worlds is that you have an evil sorcerer from another dimension, and he's, kidnapped the seven sages. All right, we're familiar with this. But in the Dark World, in this version, there are these big rifts that you cannot get across. And so you have to go back to regular Hyrule and basically piece by piece, like find a series of portals to get you to the right spot in the Dark World. And that's where that's where the main use of my guides came in, because it's like you just have to do this perfect sequence of like you have to enter this cave and then go to this one and this one and this one, and eventually you get to the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And you do unlock like a weather vane fast travel system in the Dark World. So once you unlock these places, you can get back to them much more efficiently. But the initial sequence of finding the right, portals to go through, having to do them perfectly, sometimes they would incorporate a little bit of a puzzle in with those. So it's like you need to go through 3 portals, then do a little puzzle. If you fall off a platform, you have to start it over again from the first portal type deal. So that's where I got a little bit more stumped. And I was just very willing to use the guide for that. Yeah. I had no qualms about being like, just tell me how to do this, because I don't want to deal with that part. I'm going to get frustrated. But yeah, I enjoyed this experience a lot. Ganon, not hot in this one, unfortunately. You can't have him be hot in all the games.
He's not in Ganondorf form in this, right?
He's horrifying. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. So that's a miss for me.
Yeah. 5 out of 10.
But no, this put like a real nice spin on Link to the Past, in my opinion, which I enjoyed, but no, didn't want to really finish it. They also have things like they mixed up the formula a bit. They keep some familiarity, but in Link to the Past, you got to find these 3 pendants to go get the Master Sword. And in this game, I was like, you got to make me do this all over again. And the most mild of spoilers, they have you go find the pendants, but only 2 of them, for reasons you already have one, basically. And they still have you go to the Eastern Palace, but for something different. So they put some unique spins on the game and on the story, so that while it's very much, related to Link to the Past and familiar in good ways to people who are nostalgic for it, it's also still fresh and its own thing, so that you're not tired of it immediately because it's too similar. That was something really key, because I did play Link to the Past like those several hours very recently, and I was like, man, I don't want to do all this again. But they surprised me with that. They really did. Another thing is they keep the dungeons very fresh by like changing some of them are really short, but maybe they have more difficult enemies. Some of them are longer, but the enemies are easier. Like one of the best examples is there's a dungeon that has a hand enemy that follows you around periodically. Like he'll just appear and he'll try to send you back to the beginning of the dungeon, right?
Right.
And because of that, though, that dungeon is actually pretty short. The other enemies aren't very tough. They give you that one unique challenge, and then they give you a shorter dungeon, though, and a pretty simple boss fight at the end. So I feel like there's a really good balance here between the difficulty, between the length of the dungeons, between them just being unique and different, so you don't get tired of it, because you have 7 of these to do to go find all the sages, right? And then you still have like another one at the end. There's a lot. There's a lot to this game, but they keep it very fresh. They keep it from getting stale. They balance, maybe give you tougher enemies, but easier puzzles. So I feel like that was done really well. I overall just had Like, I had some difficulty in one of the dungeons in particular. And this has happened so far in each Zelda game I've played, where it's like there'll be one that's really hard for me, right? There'll be one that I'm suddenly just like, I'm not clicking with this. And I end up using the guide a bit more for that particular one. But for the most part, I was able to figure out a lot of the puzzles by myself. And I didn't feel too stupid because, you know, that's what I hate about Zelda. They make me feel stupid and then I get mad and then I want to go tweet at them. So this wasn't like, it's not Dark Souls, all right? It's not that difficult, but you know, there is a unique frustration built in with like the portals, for example, some of that stuff. But I still was just willing to use the guide. I found a really great guide and just stuck with that the whole way through. And it was a really fun experience. And I'm going to point out too a couple weird things that I didn't love. The game has this really annoying system in the beginning where you rent your special weapons, like the hook shot and the boomerang. Yeah. And it's like, why? And because if you die in a dungeon and it's a required item, like let's say it's the dungeon where you need the hammer. If you die, you have to go back and buy it again. Like, so you have to leave the dungeon, go back home, go buy it. And later on, they let you buy the weapons, but they're really expensive. So it takes you a while to actually buy them all. That was just annoying. That was something I genuinely was just like, why are you doing this? Why can't I just find the item in a dungeon like a normal game and just keep it? Why are you making me rent it? Why do I have to go all the way back home? There's also the fast travel system, and the woman berates you for using it. And I hated that. I was like, why are you doing this to me? Every time I want to fast travel, this woman is like, oh, you're bothering me. And I'm like, I hated that. And mild spoiler, there's a point where she's gone. And I was so fucking happy. I was thrilled because I dreaded using the fast travel. But when she just like disappears for a bit, it's like, oh, hell yeah. I'm fast traveling left and right. I was fast traveling when I didn't even have to, really. I was just feeling lazy because I was just like, I can't believe that this lady's so rude. And then she comes back at a certain point and you're just like, and she's nagging you for fast traveling. I didn't like that at all.
Okay.
I skipped over the minigame shit. I don't want to race people. I don't want to catch chickens. Like, I don't want to do any of this shit. Like that, I skipped all of that. It's probably my playtime was 16 and a half hours to complete the game. So I was like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not finding 100 octopus babies and all this stuff. Like it's a lot. There's a lot I skipped over that I was just like, streamline the experience a bit. But it was still, you know, the whole package I very much enjoyed, but I'm glad that stuff was optional. I'm glad I didn't have to race that guy because I didn't want to race him. I don't want to race you. He's like, I'm the fastest guy alive. I'm like, bet. And I walked away. I'm not talking to that guy again. Like, I don't want to deal with this. You know, it was a lot of fun. The ending made me cry. And I wasn't expecting that because, as we've discussed before, these are games where the story is a bit sparse. It's not what you're really playing it for. You're not getting a ton of dialogue and cutscenes in these specific Zelda games. But they got me. They really got me, you know, and I couldn't believe I was angry. I was crying. I was mad at it because I wasn't expecting it, you know, and I was like, how could you do this to me? But no, it was a real gem. I'm very glad to have finally played it. And I'm looking forward to talking more to our listeners about it as well in the Discord. A lot of them were waiting for me to finish the game. So it was fantastic. I had a really great time with it.
Nice. Andrew Feister wrote in about that, kind of the how it presents the items and all this stuff like that. So you didn't really enjoy that, like the idea of renting items. No. What I thought cool about it, Micah, at the time is Zelda was very much known for being kind of linear in its progression through how you'd go through dungeons and stuff like that at a point. Like Twilight Princess, all the 3D ones pretty much, you know, you go very deliberate order. And this one was kind of like, hey, you can go in any order you want now, as long as you can rent this thing if you want to risk it, which I thought was really cool, or you could buy it later on, like you said. I thought it added a cool element of freedom and just danger, I guess. Like, yeah, if you die or something, it could be annoying going back, but I thought it was a cool experiment. But for you who hasn't played so many Zelda games yet, you're just like probably like, what's special about this? I don't get it kind of thing. So that is funny for you that way.
Yeah, you pointing that out is an excellent thing to say it gives you the freedom to do these whenever you want because you're not waiting to get the hook shot. You can just buy it. You can just go do these dungeons. But as someone who loves linear games anyways, I'm just like, I'll go in the specific order that you want me to go in. I don't care. Like this is great. I don't want choice. I don't want freedom. All right. I don't like any of this. I'm not playing this. My life has too much freedom. I'm horrible at managing myself. You think I can manage this little guy in the game? No, I don't want that.
I forgot. Have you played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom?
Oh, I don't. I tried Breath of the Wild when it came out. I really hate that the weapons break. I don't like that one bit.
I was going to say, if you don't like freedom, you're going to hate those games. Or if you hate freedom.
That's the thing. Like,
you're a communist.
Because it's like, it's not Red Dead Redemption, all right? And it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's too much. And I don't like that the weapons break. Like, I don't plan on ever playing those. People keep saying, oh, when you get to those, it's like, I don't plan on playing
You're
going to
hate those then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're not, that's my least favorite part of those games, too. The weapon breaking is pretty, because it's not even necessarily that they break. It's just that they break so easily. And I get why. I get the feeling that it's supposed to instill in you, and I get it. But it is still kind of,
sure.
I don't know. It's like paying a bill. It's like, yeah, I get it. But this is really annoying.
Like Zelda paying a bill sucks.
I can just Google, Ganon, Tears of the Kingdom, boom, 1 million results. I don't have to play it.
That's
true.
Right.
I guess.
I don't have to play it to see that.
I do think Tears of the Kingdom is better in that regard because like you can make your own stuff basically. Like the weapon breaking doesn't bother me as much in that. Like in Breath of the Wild, it really infuriated me, but in Tears of the Kingdom, it kind of, I don't know. I think that game is exceptional.
Yeah, it's great
in comparison, especially.
Yeah,
I've also seen way too much of it because I watched Game Grumps play it. So it's just like, I saw the sheep people and I didn't like that one bit. I didn't like those people at all. I was like, this is weird. This is furry shit. And I don't like this.
You didn't think they were hot?
There's like that. No, not them. No.
Yeah. There's bird people.
There's bird people. There's
fish people.
Yeah, they made the Sora fucking weird. All right, the Zora. They made him strange in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, why do you make him so? I didn't like this.
I'm surprised you didn't think Sidon was hot.
No, he's a fish. He's a fish man.
Well,
all right,
you're into some weird shit. I've heard
I like old people and sometimes fat people. All right, and I think that's pretty normal.
What is Ganondorf? I don't know what. He's just jacked, I guess. Big nose jacked guy, green man.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's great. Wind Waker Ganon, flawless. Tears of the Kingdom Ganon, flawless. Not as good. The little red boat, great.
Yeah, you talking about you won't have sex with the boat?
I didn't.
What are you
say
talking
that.
about? Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You said that numerous times.
The little boat is attractive. The old man king also attractive. Like there's a lot here to enjoy. So,
So if anything has the spirit or the vibe of an old man, is Micah territory.
That's feeling correct. I feel like I'm in therapy right now, and it's like, so why do you think Ganon's hot? And it's like, well, because he's 1,000 years old. Like, I guess there it is. There it is, everybody.
Okay. All right. Can't wait for you to see him in Ocarina of Time.
Is he hot there too?
Well, we'll see what you think of this. This is the first. It was like the first time we ever saw Ganon in a human form.
I'm Googling it now. So, Ocarina
Ganondorf.
of Time.
Right, Ganondorf.
Well, let's see what we got here.
Live reaction. Let's see. From Micah.
Yeah, no, this is a good one. He's not as good, not as hot, but this is acceptable.
That was his first human form, so that started it all.
That's I think that's the version of him that they use in the Starbomb music video, It's Dangerous to Go Alone.
Oh my God.
Probably.
From the Game Grumps album.
It's so much. I've heard Game Grumps more in this conversation than I have in the last 2 years. It's crazy.
I just bought they have this new tote bag from their grocery store simulator gameplay because they named their store the Buy and Leave. And I bought the tote bag immediately. I'm glad I did. It's already sold out twice. All right.
Damn.
So,
man. They're doing well. Is that Bold and Brash? behind you, by the way? Is that in the corner?
Oh yeah,
it was a little blurry.
Brash. Yeah, I got him. The pirate painting is over near my desk. You can't see that, but I have the pirate from the theme song as well.
I have Bold and Brash in my bathroom directly over my toilet.
Nice. It's a good spot.
Yeah, you have to stare at it.
Oh no, it's good to have threatening art in your bathroom so your guests don't feel too comfortable. Like I have, what is it? Oh, we have a little frog painting that I bought from this artist on Twitter, and it says, "Do not cross me today or any other day, so help me." And it's like, I don't want you to feel too comfortable in here. Right. All right. Maybe that'll give you a little jolt to be like, I better wipe the seat. All right.
Yeah, threatening art is important.
I don't think I could ever feel comfortable in your house, Mike, 100%.
Oh, just no, that's not maniacs.
True. There's always like a sense of danger with you two, or something that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So you got to nail down.
It's great. All right, I'd fire up the grill. There'd be a delightful pumpkin spice candle burning. You know, there's dogs here. All right, you'll like it here, Brad. You'll like it so much you won't want to leave.
Canned bread or some other dumb shit that I've never heard of.
You're gonna like the canned bread, okay? You're gonna like the marshmallow log, okay? You're gonna like it. You're gonna like all of it.
Marshmallow log?
Yeah, it's a Christmas delicacy back home. Yeah, you know what? That guy from Plymouth, I wonder if they have marshmallow log out there. You take marshmallows, and first you gotta melt some chocolate and some butter. You gotta let it cool just enough. And then you're mixing the mini marshmallows, the colorful ones. It's got to be the colorful ones. And then you roll it into a log, and you roll that in coconut, and you put walnuts in it. I forgot the walnuts. But then you put it in your freezer. And then later on, you slice it. It's fantastic. It's
so
a Christmas
you eat it cold
treat.
Like that?
Yeah, it's better cold. I mean, you put it in the fridge, and then you thaw out just a little bit, but it's fantastic. That's a Massachusetts delicacy for sure.
That just sounds like someone put a bunch of random shit from their pantry into a dish and just made it.
No, that's ambrosia, which old people back home love. You buy that at the deli. All right, but I don't touch that stuff. That's, all right, fair
enough. Let's see. Ethan Barcelos wrote in, "Hey Summoners, Micah, now that you have finished A Link Between Worlds, is there a chance that A Link to the Past would be easier to go back to, considering the games share a map? Now that you're familiar with the layout of the world, you might not feel as lost or confused if you decide to revisit it. Regardless, it's cool to hear about your Zelda journey, and I'm curious to know what entry you'll try out next." Now, Micah, it seems like your problem with the game wasn't the map navigating. No. It was just the dungeon puzzles or something, right?
Yeah, so a lot of Link to the Past had several dungeons where it's like the trick is you gotta fall through a hole in the floor, and some of those will kill you. And some of them don't. And I'm like, I don't like this, because it feels like a dirty trick. All right, you're not asking me to be clever. You're asking me to just keep falling to my doom, or sometimes you don't. And it's just like, I just found that type of puzzle to be frustrating. So it's like, just try it. And I'm like, all right. And then sometimes you fall and it's like, and then other times you fall and it's like, no, here's a treasure chest. I just don't like that. I really just didn't enjoy it. The game feels cheap against the player. It's like, oh, you go to the dark world and like, oh, unless you have a special item, you can't do anything. And then you got to go back to Hyrule and get the special items so that you're not just a rabbit or whatever. Like, thank God they didn't do anything like that in Link Between Worlds. Like, you go to the new world and you're just yourself. And you don't have to go get a special item to do stuff. Like, yeah, I was like, I didn't like any of that. So I appreciate Link to the Past for what it is. I'm not knocking on it, but I strongly disliked the types of puzzles that they put in there. It just wasn't my thing.
You just growled.
I know, that was like listening to my 5-year-old nephew talk or something. Talking about something. Just kidding.
That was me with that damn chicken in Rebirth.
Well, you would have gotten me eating it if you finished.
Oh well.
We would have got some delicious chicken.
Chris is like, sometimes I want to growl at people, and it's like, I just fucking do.
Yeah.
It was literally my nickname as a child. My grandpa used to call me Cubby, like a bear cub, because I would growl at people when I was a toddler. I don't remember doing that, but I clearly never outgrew it either.
You grew up. You're a mountain folk, as you said.
Oh my god! I can't do it anymore. I could scratch my head with my foot like a dog.
That's upsetting.
I can put my leg behind my head. I can still do that, but I can't maneuver that anymore. I'm not as flexible as I once was.
Oh dear lord. Okay, Chris. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. You've been playing. Talk to me. You're enjoying this from what I've heard.
Yeah, dude. I'm super. I'm super into it. I didn't think I would be. I haven't. I'm sure some listeners know, but like I haven't really played like a Call of Duty in any real serious capacity since Modern Warfare 2. And when I say that, I mean like the original, like 2009. Like I played maybe genuinely cumulative 10 hours of Call of Duty since then. You know, like since then to now, it's like I played a little bit of Modern Warfare 2019. I think I played a little bit of Cold War. I played a little bit of Black Ops 1 and 2, but not really. Like cumulatively, it's really not much at all. And so I've just kind of been out of the loop with Call of Duty, in large part because I just kind of felt like it just kind of felt like the same game year over year. There was like a Pokemon kind of syndrome going on with it, where I was just like, okay, yeah. I played Modern Warfare 1, I played Modern Warfare 2, I played a little bit of World at War, and I just kind of was like, by the time Modern Warfare 3 came out, I was like, I think I'm good. Like, I don't know, like it just kind of looks like more of the same, and there were just other shooters that like were far more compelling to me. I'm a big fan of verticality, and so Halo and like Battlefield especially, like jumping off of a building and like parachuting into like a busted up hospital and like immediately like getting into a firefight is just, it's dope as hell. Like it's very, very cool. And so I just kind of been in the Battlefield camp for a while, and I dipped my toes in when I thought things looked interesting. But no Call of Duty game before this really, really kept my attention, because ultimately I could still feel the DNA of, oh, this feels like the skeleton of what I remember playing.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting about this game is that it's really the first time ever that I feel like Call of Duty has felt meaningfully different to just play. And what I mean by that is just like the actual feeling of just moving from point A to point B and like looking around with your gun and like diving and crouching and going prone and the ability to sprint in any direction and the ability to slide in any direction and the ability to dive in any direction is really, really transformative to how fluid the game feels, because I feel like it used to feel like not on rails necessarily, because it's not literally accurate, but compared to a lot of other games that I would play, like especially Battlefield and some other games, where I'm just like, this feels very rigid. It feels very stilted. It feels very, there's something about it that just doesn't feel as fluid as you would like it to. And Black Ops 6, I feel like remedies that tremendously. It is a joy to just run from point A to point B, knowing that you could like slide to the right and like slide to the left and slide backwards. It's just crazy. It just makes the game feel just more dynamic. It feels like more unpredictable, but there's still the Call of Duty rule set where that kind of keeps things into a framework of predictability, where you're not going to see somebody's not going to jump on you from like 50 miles above you, but they might juke you in a way that they couldn't before, and that feels really satisfying. And I feel like the gunplay feels really good. I like the mounting system. I know that that's from Modern Warfare, I think 2019, where you could like aim over a piece of cover and like mount the gun to stabilize it. I think that's dope. I know that's a carryover, but still, it's a nice cumulative ingredient to the formula. I think the campaign so far, I haven't finished it yet. I'm pretty deep into it now at this point, but I feel like the campaign's really great. There's a lot of variety that I was not expecting, and to be fair, Call of Duty campaigns I have the least experience with. I didn't play any of the Black Ops campaigns really. I played Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, and that's literally it. I think I played like Call of Duty 3 and 2 before that, but it's such a different franchise now that it doesn't really matter. But the level variety and mission variety and like the tasks that you are asked to do are so they're a lot deeper than I expected out of a Call of Duty game, because the Call of Duty games that I'm used to playing are, if there's a stealth section, you're sniping, and most of the game is just bombastic, action, which is definitely a part of this for sure. Like, a lot of levels end with that kind of Fast and the Furious, like, we got to get out of here because we're family, or it's like there's a lot of there is that, and it's cool. But the beginning, like early on in this game, like the second level, and like even like a level like not too long after that, is very stealth oriented, and like you can sneak around and you're pickpocketing Bill Clinton and all this crazy shit, and you're like, what the fuck? This is kind of dope. And you can go through like so much of the mission without being seen. And as like a stealth fan who's gone like tremendously underserved over the last several years, no Splinter Cell, no Metal Gear, it's all over. The best I can hope for is like, I don't know, maybe Batman comes back in some way and gives me another stealth game. But I really appreciated that. Like, I really did not anticipate stealth missions being in this game at all. And maybe that's a point of ignorance, because maybe that was in Call of Duty Cold War too. Like, I really have no idea, but it's very refreshing to me now, especially with the new movement system. I think the open structure of the campaign is interesting too. Like the fact that there is a hub, and like you're upgrading your crew, and that there's like mysteries that you can solve in this hub with like a black light, I think is super fucking interesting. It's weird. It's a weird game. It's more experimental than I thought a Call of Duty game would be. Like, a lot of this feels kind of out of pocket and really kind of not super tailored to the average person who I would assume would be playing Call of Duty. Who's like, let me get to the action set pieces. Let me get to, just let me get to the motorcycle bike rides across. I don't even know what the fuck at this point. Alien space. I don't know what the hell's going on with Call of Duty now. But yeah, just the stealth and the intrigue and the espionage. It's super dope. And I'm really into it. I will say, I'm also super into zombies right now, which I have never been, to be fair. Like, I played zombies in World at War, and that was the last time I played it. so all of the new stuff in zombies is especially jarring to me. It really feels like a completely different game. There's elements of zombies that feel like Borderlands in some way. Like, there's zombies that have health bars, and there's like side quests and all this stuff. And again, this probably sounds like, well, duh, Chris, but like you have to realize I've been gone from this series for so long that all of this feels very, very new. And I feel like kind of weirdly justified that I spent so much time away from it, because I feel like I get a brand new experience now that feels very, very fresh. It feels very, very new. And it just feels good to play. I think I spent like 5 hours the other day playing zombies with people, and it was just like, this is great.
Nice.
It's good shit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, I'm super into it. I'm sure they'll find ways to fuck it up in some way. Like, they already put out that battle pass with like the new skins, and the new skins are tremendously distracting.
Yeah,
they're really terrible. Like, there's people that look like they're from Haze. Do you remember that PS3 game where like there's like this?
Yeah, it's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I was playing it and I was like, what is Haze doing in this? Like, I don't want to be reminded of fucking Haze. Like, what the heck are you doing?
No one does.
And yeah, I don't know. It's a joy to play though. I'm really enjoying it. It's the first Call of Duty that I've really, really, really just genuinely thought was great. Modern Warfare 2 and Call of Duty 4 were innovative and definitely interesting, and they definitely like caught the zeitgeist in a way that I think like needs no explanation. They do their own talking basically, but I always felt that those games, compared to other games at the time, just like they were entirely fine. I think they just did something with like the progression system and unlocking weapons and prestiging that nobody else was doing, and I think that really helped them. It propelled them. But I think this is truly the first game in the series really that I felt was like genuinely of a top tier quality from like an FPS perspective. I think it's great. I highly recommend it. And I plan to keep playing. I don't know how good I am at it. There is something weird that I've noticed, and maybe you can inform me on this, and like how new this is or what. But I've noticed that it's not a KD ratio anymore. Now it's like eliminations. and eliminations don't see, like, I think eliminations are kills and assists as far as I understand. Which is a little confusing because I think what happened is, like, the game's become so fast now that, like, you die so much more often that if you only included kills, very few people would be positive, and that's psychologically not fun. So I think they've just kind of compiled them. I don't know when they started doing this. I'm not a fan of it necessarily, but it's not so distracting that it, like, makes the game bad or anything. It's not as bad as, like, Battlefield 2042 launching without a fucking scoreboard.
Oh my God, yeah, that was so bad.
But yeah, no, Black Ops 6 is great. Looking forward to getting through the campaign. Although every time I go on to play campaign, I get an invite to a multiplayer lobby, and I'm like, well,
yeah,
off I go. So, like, my campaign progress has been somewhat stymied from just everybody wanting to play zombies or multiplayer. But I'm really into every aspect of this game, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's good. The KD thing, it's weird, Chris, because sometimes in a map I'll have a KD and I'll see it there clearly, but then other times I don't really know. So I'm not, maybe it's certain modes that have it only now. I don't really know how it works, but
yeah,
kind of there.
I don't know.
Let's see here. We had another question from Ding Dong. Hey, Summon Signers. I've been enjoying Call of Duty Black Ops 6 lately, especially the time spent playing with friends. However, I've been having a tough time enjoying it casually because of skill-based matchmaking. I'm about a 2 KD player while my friends are under 1 KD, so we often end up in lobbies where I'm facing players who are crouch jumping around corners and melting me, especially with aim assist on controller. Chris, I know you're playing on PC, and you've always been solid from what I've heard over the years in Halo and other games. How are you enjoying the game so far? Do you find skill-based matchmaking impact your experience too? Thanks for everything you guys do on the podcast. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
Yeah,
skill-based matchmaking. Yeah,
this is a big conversation in competitive FPS spaces for good reason. I'm at an impasse with this. I don't really know how I feel about this, because I remember this being a problem in my brief stints in Call of Duty before. Like, I remember a friend of mine got, I think, Advanced or Infinite Warfare. I can't remember which one. It was one of those, though. And I remember jumping onto his account and playing, and I would do pretty well, and then I would immediately get trounced, and I would get trounced forever after that. And that was when I was younger and theoretically better at this type of game than I would be now. For whatever reason, I feel like I'm always going positive in Black Ops 6, and I don't know if it's just because the fluidity of the movement makes me just connect with it better, and I'm just inherently better at games like that. Or, like, because I haven't felt the skill-based matchmaking at all, really. Like, there are some games where I get that are close, but I haven't, and there's, like, maybe, like, a game or two where I get trounced, but not more. It doesn't feel as heavy to me, but I don't know if it's because I've somehow gotten better at Call of Duty, or if it's just not as strong as it used to. Like, I wish I had a satisfying answer. I don't really know. I feel like the skill-based matchmaking is pretty solid, but I also don't know if I'm biased from the sense of that, like, I'm actually kind of good at it. But I've never been good at Call of Duty before. That's kind of the thing. It's like, I've been okay, but, like, I'm really good at this one. It's the diving, man. People don't expect you to dive. Like, it's
the dive
crazy.
is fun.
Yeah. Although there's sometimes I get into lobbies with people who, like, they'll do the thing where, like, you get into a firefight with them and they'll do the
and then drop shotting.
Yeah.
They'll, like, crouch in the middle of I'm like, come on, dude. Like, what do you relax? We're hanging out. I definitely don't play. I will say I don't play ranked. I don't do any of that shit because I don't want to. Sure. You know, I value my happiness, so I don't play ranked in anything. But yeah, I'm sure the skill based match. It would be hard for me to believe that skill based matchmaking is gone. I think I've just somehow gotten better, and I also do think the fact that the pool is so open because of the Game Pass thing. I think a lot of people are on Game Pass and might just dip in and check it out. So I feel like that, like, widens the skill pool for everybody. So, like, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something there where there's probably a lot of people playing the game that aren't necessarily that great because, you know, they're just kind of checking it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I haven't felt like particularly stymied by the skill-based matchmaking in this game in comparison to other games where I definitely felt it in the past.
Cool. Let's see here. Death Spank wrote in, "Hey Micah, will you be checking out Call of Duty this year? You have said previously you were on the fence about playing and was going to wait for reviews. If you do play, will you be playing with any of the Last Stand crew? I look forward to hearing what you think about the multiplayer." All right, Micah, any plans to play Call of Duty this year?
Honestly, I'm more conflicted now hearing Chris say how different and fresh it is, because I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't. I want it to be the same. I want them all to be. Yeah. There's a reason I skipped the outer space one. I was like, fuck that. First of all, I hate outer space. Second of all, I don't want different. I don't want new. What are you doing? Like, don't do that. You put it back. Put everything back. I want everything like Modern Warfare 3 again, all right? So I might check it out, but I'm honestly feeling more like it's not for me. If Chris is like, wow, it's new and fresh and different, and I'm like, it's not what I had in mind.
It's still ultimately Call of Duty. Like, it's not like oh, it was Call of Duty and now it's fucking Forza. You know what I mean? Like, it's still like mostly the same. I just think it's like there's tweaks there that make it feel, I guess, less archaic. Because it's felt old for a long time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I like old feeling games. But yeah, it feels significantly newer. Zombies is fun though, man. Like, I think it's such a good time. I have no idea what the fuck is going on, because apparently there's like a story mode to zombies now, and there's like sometimes
all that.
Sometimes a character will come up and it was like, I'm fucking Dr. Spigot, and I'm creating a fucking lamp, and you're like, I don't know what any of this is. I remember, dude, my last Zombies was World at War, so like the very, very beginning, when it was just like a basic rudimentary like horde mode where there was like no characters. You would just like put the fucking I gotta put a wood on a window to keep the Nazi zombie from getting in. And now it's like, I don't know. I remember seeing trailers years ago of like JFK was in it, and I'm like, I guess I don't know what's going on. And now it's just like it's its own narrative. There's like magic. There's, I don't know what the fuck. There's gumballs. Yeah. There's gumballs called there's gumballs called gobble gums.
Oh,
which when I saw that in the game, I was like, I feel so. It made me feel so decrepit and old immediately, because I was like, what the fuck is a gobblegum doing? That's like a Yo Gabba Gabba Backyardigans ass fucking thing. And it's just in my Call of Duty.
But that's such an old example to bring up. Yo Gabba Gabba, the kids today are like, who? Backyardigans?
Yeah, right,
They're
exactly,
like, who?
Yeah, well, I don't know any of the, I don't know. What's a kid's show now? Like, I guess Bluey, I guess?
Bluey.
They love Bluey a lot. The Peppa Pig is still kicking.
Peppa Pig is still kicking?
I believe. Well, see, they had that new game that came out, and then they had to like include like a rest in peace to the Queen, because she died like during production, damn. I think, and they had to throw it in like a rest in peace because she's in the game, and like she drives you around in a bus.
The Queen drives you in a bus?
Yeah, and then they had to put like a rest in peace Queen Elizabeth as like a little montage of her with Peppa Pig. It was hysterical.
Damn, they should have the Call of Duty like X with the arrow pointing down over her character model the entire time. Or revive.
Yeah.
All
right. Yeah, Call of Duty, solid this year. Game Pass, that's where I'm playing it too. Easy to hop into. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Let's end the show with some questions and comments from the audience, as we do on this show every Saturday. I put up a thread on our Patreon. Patreon.com/laststandmedia if you want to support us, by the way. I put it up every Saturday, calling for your submissions, usually in the early afternoon on the West Coast time, Pacific time. So if you want to post or send in a question for the show, keep an eye out for that. All right, this is from Riley. Hey there, Side Squad. How do you feel about classic franchises evolving over time in new and interesting ways? Are there any favorite game series or media that got much better and became beloved to you? Zelda, Call of Duty, and even Overwatch have evolved to have many more fluid and diverse experiences, game types, new modes, etc. Curious to what comes to mind, or other things come to mind. Stay warm and thanks for all the time, Riley. All right, so Mike, I thought of you immediately when I read this question because I was like, well, she hates change, so I gotta ask her. But you do like the Modern Warfare Call of Duties, and that was not what Call of Duty started out as. So I guess that is a good example.
That's unique to me because my first Call of Duty was Modern Warfare 3. So what I like is that it's at that one and everything after it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I loved Call of Duty Ghosts. I thought it was fantastic. People hated that one. But no, like, that's the thing. Modern Warfare 3 is where I got into Call of Duty, and then I just played from then on. So it's like, for me, that was the standard. But no, generally speaking, evolving a franchise, and like what I think of is Clint Eastwood in that movie where he hates the Asian people on his street. And I'm not racist, but I mean, there's that, and there's he hates them, and he's like, I don't want my street is changing and I don't like it. And I don't know, I've never seen the movie, so I don't know what happens, but I feel like that gif of him like watching them drive down the street and he's just like, meh. And that's how I feel. Like Assassin's Creed, you fucked it up. Like, Zelda, you fucked it up. You're just changing these franchises. I don't like it. Make a new game. You know what, Miyamoto? Why don't you make a new fucking game? Why don't you stop dicking around with the old titles? Why don't you make a new game? You want to make an open world fantasy game? Great. Why do you have to call it Zelda? Why don't you call it Peebo and Mr. Poop?
That's what Zelda was when it came out first.
I don't, but my Zelda standard is Echoes of Wisdom.
That was changing it also.
I like that one a lot.
Okay. So whatever is the first for Micah is how it should stay, pretty much.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed 1 is the best one they ever made. And
that is crazy.
They've just ruined them.
What?
Game after game after
two?
game. No, I like those just fine, but they keep getting worse and worse. I haven't, after Black Flag, it's just like, get the fuck out of here. Can't stand it. But it is what it is. This is what they do now. They make a familiar name and you're like, oh, I've been to Cracker Barrel before. And you walk in and it's a hibachi restaurant and you're like, this isn't Cracker Barrel at all. And they're like, the sign says it is. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll have the steak. And that's how I feel. I feel like Clint Eastwood.
Oh man.
Chris, what about you? Any examples you could think of something evolving that you enjoy more?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a couple. I think the thing that came to mind immediately is Doom, but that's also like kind of cheating because it's so old that like you couldn't possibly not evolve it in some way. But I think Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are leagues better than really any of the previous Dooms. I think they're great. I played the previous Dooms, so like I have nostalgia for them for sure. But like there's and even Doom 3 I like too. Even like Doom 3 to a lesser extent. Like, I think that's an interesting game, but I just think like Doom 2016 was so good, and Eternal I think is pretty damn close to perfect. The only thing that's really not good about Doom Eternal is really like how levels flow into one another because there's that hub thing in the middle, and I don't know if that really served the game really that well. But I don't know. It's really. And honestly, like Halo's one that's I think has evolved like up and down. Combat Evolved is probably like my least favorite Bungie Halo. Like I know that's like the classic one. That's like the one that everybody's really nostalgic for, and I get it. But to me, 2 and 3 evolved that game in such a perfect way where I'm like, oh, it's infinitely like dual wielding, and the way the physics worked, and the fact that you couldn't get splattered by a stationary vehicle like you could in 1. It was so finicky, and grenade jumping and sword lunging and all the weird complicated physics, and I liked that evolution. And then they evolved it further in a direction that I thought was like really poor and not quite not quite reasonable. But it really is a mixed bag. I think there's good evolution, there's bad evolution. I think a lot of companies don't really understand what it is about their game that clicks with people. And so they kind of take risks in areas where they really shouldn't. I think there's certain areas where, I look at Zelda Breath of the Wild, for instance, and I'm like, it's a good idea to have an open world Zelda game. Like, I think that's a great idea. And I think it takes a lot of what people like about Zelda and like brings it into this kind of really interesting, ethereal kind of space that lends itself more to like almost like an immersive sim gameplay than anything else, which is super cool and interesting. And it's very, 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 very different. But then there's other games like, I think, Splinter Cell that might lose the plot a little bit, because like what's interesting about Splinter Cell is the stealth and the presentation and the fact that you can almost like the vibe, I'm gonna sneak a camera underneath a door to peek through and like see like what's going on, and then I'm gonna plan my route, and then you get to Double Agent, and you're like, what the like it gets kind of weird. But then there's action Splinter Cell games like Conviction that I kind of like a lot, actually. So it really just depends. Like everything, video games are like very House of Cards-esque, and I feel like you can take a lot out and put a lot in without necessarily disturbing it, but it's at the same time it's also very finicky. And you got to know what to carry forward and what to change and what to tweak and what to leave as identical as you found it. And that I think is really tricky. It's not necessarily finding out what to change, it's what to keep. That I think a lot of developers have a tough time nailing down, because a lot of people have different ideas of what makes games tick. Like my thing for Halo would be physics, but like apparently the people with Infinite were like, maybe not. Maybe the vehicles don't have to function correctly, and it's like, I would disagree, but
yeah. In terms of evolution, just quickly for me, is you guys brought up Zelda. Yeah, that's one Zelda's been evolving throughout its entire history pretty much, so I've been happy with that. I'm always down for stuff to change, but
yeah,
similar things can be totally fine. Like I like the Yakuza games, and they're all very similar in many ways, very similar, but they're still really fun. And of course Final Fantasy always changing, especially later on as they got further into develop, or like later in the timeline, they would change dramatically per entry, and I always really appreciated that. All right, let's see, this is from Austin Trevino. Hey, Summoners, quick question for all three. Do you typically juggle multiple games simultaneously? I ask because I'm currently enjoying Octopath Traveler 2 and Halo Infinite multiplayer, looking to pick up Dragon Quest 3 after Octopath. As someone with similar tastes as Chris, I'm finding this dynamic is a good way to work through long turn-based RPGs. I'm prone to getting bored quickly if bogged down by slower paced moments, which then leads to Halo/Call of Duty. But the multiplayer can lead to frustration, which cycles back to RPGs providing moments of progression/success. Shout out to my wife, Allie, who loves your show, Brad, when she's away on work. Cheers. Well, I think that's the first female listener we got here, so we'll take it. But yeah, Chris, what do you think about this bouncing back between these two games because getting bored of one aspect or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I am notoriously, like, my ADHD is crazy. Like, I jump from game to game almost like psychotically. Anybody that I'm friends with on Steam, like sometimes they'll message me, like they'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to find something." Because I'll have my notification will be like he's playing Half-Life 2, and now he's playing Balatro, and now he's playing fucking, I don't know, Warhammer, and now he's playing Gears Tactics or whatever. It's just, it really is like a mess. But for me, I like to jump around a lot, but I tend to keep it so like I'm only playing one game of a certain type at once. So like I'm never juggling two RPGs at the same time, and I'm never juggling two single player FPSs at the same time. Like right now, the games that I'm playing are like as of right now, and by the way, like this is like literally like as of last night. That's why it's not in the document or anything. But I'm playing Half-Life 2 again because they just came out with that documentary that kind of got me like, oh yeah, I kind of want to play Half-Life 2. It's been so long. So that's my single player FPS right now. Then Call of Duty is I'm not really playing single player on that because I'm playing like zombies and multiplayer. So that's my PvP Call of Duty, or that's my PvP first person shooter. I'm playing Balatro, which is like my kind of, turn your brain off kind of arcadey game. And then I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is like my single player RPG. I can juggle all these things because they don't really conflict with each other in any meaningful way. Like the most overlap there is like Half-Life and Call of Duty, but those games are so different from each other. Yeah. And even just the storytelling of those games are very different. And they're very, very manageable alongside each other. But I would never be like, oh, I'm going to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and then Final Fantasy 16 at the like alongside each other. You know what I mean? Like, right. I think it's important to manage. It's okay to jump between things. I just think it's also important to kind of like make room for the type of experience that you're opening yourself up to. Because if you don't do that, I feel like it just gets muddy and you end up diluting both experiences. If you're going through two RPGs at the same time, yeah, you're not going to get the most out of either of them. I think it's almost like it's almost like how I feel about people who work. I don't know. I've definitely been in a situation where I've had to work like two jobs at the same time, and I was not doing a good job at either of those jobs. You know, because I just did not have the bandwidth. When I was working one job, I was perfectly competent at that one job, but like two jobs, like, all right, listen, like you're gonna get the bare minimum from me, and you're gonna like it because this is the best I can do at the moment. Right. So yeah, just make sure you're making room for the types of experiences, and it's not really about the number. Yeah. Micah, how do you juggle multiple games? It's funny because Chris was talking about playing different types of genres to help balance it out. And me, all I'm playing is RPGs right now, so I'm fucked. But that's just where I'm at right now. But Micah, what about you? I assume you're playing, actually, well, you were playing Dragon Quest VIII as well. So what's going on with you? How you handle all this?
Yeah, well, first of all, for anyone who's watching on video, you might have seen me have a little bit of a crisis over here. I got peanut butter all over my blanket.
Oh my God. How did you get peanut butter on your blanket?
I needed to have a snack real quick. Okay. There's nothing wrong with me, all right? The doctor said so, but like basically I live my life like a type 1 diabetic. If I don't eat every 2 hours, I start to perish.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I started having like a moment where I was like, I think I'm going to die. So I had a peanut butter cracker. It's all over me. It's all over my lap. I have my little FDR blanket here. You know, this free blanket I got from Victoria's Secret one time. That doesn't matter. I'm having a little bit of a diabetic coma right now. So we're talking about juggling games. I used to play 3 games at a time, minimum.
That's minimum? Insane.
Wow.
When I lived alone, I'd always have an Xbox game, a PlayStation game, and a Switch game going at the same time. Or 3DS, you know, whatever iteration of Nintendo was out. And I would always have a minimum of 3 games that I was revolving between. It was easier when I lived alone, and I could just be like, I'll just play whatever I want. I could still do that now, but I prefer to spend time with Colin. So I primarily play on Switch handheld. So now I'm not playing that type of, you know, system anymore, but I used to always have 3 games going at a time. Sometimes there would be some overlap, like maybe I'm playing Yakuza 0 on PlayStation, and then on Xbox I got like something stupid like Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning, you know, like I'd load up the RPGs basically. I didn't care. But I should have mixed it up more. I would try to play like a multiplayer game, an RPG, whatever. But the reality is that I just love RPGs so much that that's most of what I buy. Yeah. So I'm just like, it's like they're all the fucking same in what I'm buying. So I'm just playing 3 of them at a clip. I don't do that anymore. Usually I try not to have more than 2 games going at the same time. And I try to really heavily focus on one. Like when I realized, I could beat Zelda this weekend. You know, if I put in a couple hours Saturday, Sunday, I can beat this game and then start Dragon Quest free and clear. So I just went ahead and did that. Just powered through the last few hours. Because I'm like, I just want to be free. You know, like I don't want to be tied down. So, but the old Micah was always having 3 at a time. And that was a wild experience in my college years. But now, no, now we're settled down 1 at a time.
Whoa. All right. Yeah. If I didn't have to, if my job wasn't playing video games, I would absolutely play 1 game at a time. Yeah. But I have to juggle many things, as all of you do as well. So it's just like, gotta find time. I don't know. Just do your best, man. That's all we can do. All right. This is from Max Laszlos. Summon Ussies, please dust off the PSVR 2 and play Synapse since it's being added to PS Plus Premium tier. This is a triple A roguelike shooter And once you get the rhythm down, plays like if Doomslayer had guns and psychic abilities. Also, David Hayter's omnipresence doesn't hurt either. Cheers from Denver, Colorado. That's right. Now, I don't have a PSVR 2, but Chris, you do.
Yeah.
When was the last time you played it?
I don't know where it is.
Okay. So it's been a while.
I think I lent it to a friend who was using it. But I don't remember if I got it back from him. I don't know if he's using it. I don't even know who I lent it to be honest with you.
Oh God.
It's somewhere. It's somewhere. Yeah. Like I don't know. Like I want to play Synapse, but I don't know. And I don't know if this is necessarily like a me specific problem because I have a prescription that's pretty high. But I just get headaches playing VR. Like, and it sucks because I really like it. I think VR is awesome. Like I when I first played Boneworks, I was like blown away at like just like the level of interaction and it was like really janky, but just the fact that like I'll never forget because the visual identity of that game isn't particularly strong. It's just like a bunch of like source engine assets, and it's like, you know, the enemies are just like wireframe orange people basically. Like there's not a lot of direction necessarily artistically in that game, but like I remember like beating one of those guys up, shoving him in a locker, and then using a crowbar to lock the locker in, and he couldn't get out. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
this is exactly cool. This is like exactly what I've always wanted out of VR. Just like that level of like, if I think I can do it, I can. I love that stuff, but I can only play it for like maybe like 30, 45 minutes to an hour at a time before like the pressure of the thing like wrapped around my head gets too tight and I just have to take an Advil, or like maybe it's my eyes not like adjusting it's
draining, dude.
Yeah, it's draining. I used to play a lot of Beat Saber. And then I would just get headaches and I just kind of stopped. And now like anytime I think about playing VR, and I think about it often, I think about like, do I want to have a headache today, basically? And the answer to that question is always no, because I'm already like prone to like migraines as it is, and migraines suck. So like if I can have a day with no type of headache at all, I'm going to choose it. And so it's VR is kind of a hard sell for me. I feel like until they figure out a way to maybe make it lighter or figure that out, I don't see it being like a consistent thing that I'm going to be playing. I do want to play Beat Saber again because it was just genuinely good exercise doing it, and I loved it. But I just don't know if I'm willing to deal with that physical trade-off. Like headaches suck, and they're kind of debilitating for me. So, yeah,
fair enough. Micah, any interest in VR? You guys do have a PSVR too, you and Colin. Any interest in playing it?
No, I don't like it.
Okay.
VR makes me very nauseous. So like I tried things like Job Simulator, which were really cute and fun. But even that where it's primarily you're like moving your arms to do things, but not even walking around a lot, I would feel just like sick within like 20 minutes. And it just never got better. I tried, a few different games and all of them make me just feel awful. So I have given up on VR completely. I really haven't played it in years.
Mm-hmm. I think VR is really cool. I don't have one. When I was at Easy Allies, we got a PSVR 2 and I kind of took charge of covering it, and I played a lot of stuff on there, and it was really sick. Like Resident Evil Village was really cool in VR. I had an awesome time playing a lot of it. But VR is a draining kind of thing, especially if you're standing when you're playing it. Like, but there's some awesome VR games, like Half-Life Alyx was awesome. I played through that. That was so good.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love to play through Resident Evil 4 Remake VR and all that, but there's just too much stuff for me to play already for me to even consider spending whatever $400 or something, or however much PSVR 2 is now, to justify it. But I think it's really cool. Like Gran Turismo was awesome in VR as well. It's so good, but there's just too much stuff to play already for me to justify it. But shout out to VR. I know it's awesome.
But so you don't have that sickness thing? Like you're totally fine with it? Like, 'cause for me, it's not motion sickness. It's like, it just, I don't even know how to describe it.
I
It's
get
like
that
my eyes
feeling
hurt.
I get that feeling maybe if after like 2 hours or 2.5 hours, I'll take a break, like
Yeah.
5 minutes or something like that. But yeah, not like I can play VR games like the full motion and everything like that. And I'm totally fine. But it's just, I don't know, wearing it on your head for hours is like strangely draining on the body. I don't know why. It's so weird.
It is. Yeah, it's unfortunate too because there's so many, dude. Beat Saber, I love Beat Saber. Pistol. There's like one called
Pistol Whip.
Pistol Whip. That's
Mm-hmm.
really great too. Half-Life Alyx and was incredible. Boneworks was great. I just want there to be just some kind of way. I really do think it's just the amount, how tight that thing has to be around your head to feel right.
Right.
That just makes it really uncomfortable. But the second they can figure that out, like if they can like put it in like glasses, at some point, because at some point that'll be possible. But at that point, I'm in because it's just like, oh, I'm used to these.
Yeah, when it's a little less cumbersome, I feel like that's when we'll have big breakthroughs. All right, this is from Faulted Priest. Good day, BMC. Is convenience killing the consumption? I feel nowadays with everything so easily accessible, we lose something in the experience of a game, film, TV, show, etc. Don't get me wrong, there's some good shit out there. I just feel it's a lesser experience when it's easy to access. As someone who still buys physical games/films, I feel there's a bit more to it when you go buy the game/film, look at the artwork, read the back, then finally pop it in to play/watch. Do either of you guys feel this way? Big love from York, England. We talk about this sometimes when we think of older games, especially, you get the game, you look in the manual when manuals were actually something. And there was some, like, on the ride home with your parents or something like that. You think about that, and that's something special. But nowadays, physical games are not really anything. You get the case, sometimes there's not even a game in there. So I think a lot of that's gone. The days of really cool manuals and stuff to like incentivize you to, that's like collector's edition kind of stuff now, or third party things. That's where you have to get it from. So I understand where you're coming from on this, Faulted Priest, but nowadays it's just kind of like, I don't know, all the packaging is just kind of lifeless to me unless you get it like a collector's edition or from a third party thing like that. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like I know what you're saying because I definitely used to. I brought the Halo 2 manual to school like a fucking dweeb. And I read it at lunch. Like it's a complete dweeb about that stuff. I loved it. I loved the smell of all that ink in the manual when you open the box. That was definitely poisonous. I do miss those days, but like at the same time, it's like I do feel like when I remember the last physical game I got, it was, well, the last new physical game I got, like that I actively went. I've received gifts that were physical games since then, but I actually think I still have Guacamelee like wrapped. But it was Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain on Xbox One, and it was just the disc and I don't know, like a cardboard slip for like Xbox Live or something in it. And I was like, oh, well,
yeah,
I don't know if I feel anything about this at all. This is, it's just significantly lamer. If anything, I feel like in some ways, I actually feel like having a physical game now is somewhat of a detriment because now, like, if I open it and I see that there's like no manual, I'm just reminded of how far we've fallen versus like, if I just download something and I can play it immediately at midnight, I'm more swept away by the ease and the convenience and kind of already in like a positive headspace than I would be if I like, okay, time to open this really uninteresting packaging and put my disc in. Oh, it's not even really a disc because the disc just sends me to the store to download the thing that's on the disc. It's I don't know how I feel about it. I get it though. Like there's definitely games and movies and other things like that that I love so much that I will make an effort to go get the physical version of it because I love it so much. But I don't know. I do feel like the days of meaningful meaningful SKUs of physical media are kind of, I don't want to say over necessarily, but they definitely feel less impactful.
Yeah, certainly
feel
a
like
lot
I'm
less of it.
Yeah, like I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything really. Like if I don't get a physical version of a game. Whereas I felt like that was almost exclusively how I felt. Like if there was a way to download a game in like 2013 or like 2012, no way was I doing that.
Right.
Because I just wanted that disc. I wanted that manual. I wanted the map of Skyrim, that came with it. Because it's cool. But we don't get that shit no more. And I do like special editions. I like that the special edition thing is keeping that tradition alive in some way. But at the same time, those are like, premium products. They're more expensive. And I don't know.
Yeah. Micah, what do you think about all this?
No, it's frustrating because it's a mix of things for me. Like I still collect physical games and buy as many games physical as I can. But I remember being so hideously disappointed with Minecraft on Vita, and you open the case and it's just a voucher. And it's like, why'd you even do this? Why did you even do this? Like, yeah, I have the case. There's no card. Like, it's weird. But it's part of what I think of as well is that it's not just that the games are less special because there's no manual. That's a facet of it. But there's also the fact that games are not as much of an event as they used to be. There's just so many coming out, so many high quality games every year that I remember being a kid and people being like, oh my God, a new Pokemon. And like, you're going to sit on that egg and be like thrilled with it. And you might not get another game. Like you might get a game at your birthday and a game at Christmas. Right.
Yeah.
And now not only being an adult with, my own money to spend on these things. So I'm not relying on my parents to buy me a new game and maybe you get one a year. You're also just like, there's so many high quality experiences that they don't feel as special. I enjoy, each game that I play, but in reality, they don't hit the same when I play like banger after banger. Like I appreciate it. I'm thrilled, but they don't feel quite the same just from that regard of like, man, there's so many good games that's half of why they don't feel quite so special anymore. Never mind the fact that, we don't get cool manuals and shit unless you order a special edition and all that. And even the special editions don't even give you a manual half the time. And it's like, you don't understand what I want. All right. I don't want another pin. I don't want another poster. I want you to put a manual in it. All right. I want to bring it to school and read it. And then the teacher will be like, that's not a book. And you're like, that's all I brought. Yeah. Like, that's what I want. And they don't even do that with special editions sometimes. So I feel like it's a big mix of things. But the biggest component for me is just that I'm playing so many great games every year. They don't feel quite so special anymore.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. All right. Final question from Florida Man. Hola, summoners. With Half-Life 2 now 20 years old, did you all catch the documentary that was posted on Valve's channel? Crazy to think what it took to make that game into what is maybe one of the most groundbreaking games ever made. Peace. Now, Chris, I know you were playing Half-Life 2, and I believe you have seen some of the documentary, right?
Yeah, I watched I watched all of it the other day. It's really interesting, man. Like I love video game documentaries. Like I remember that I think it's one of the main reasons why I fell so deep into Halo is because like they were like doing those things really, really early. Like they had Vidocs really, really early that were just like very uncharacteristic. Like you didn't really see that a lot. And it gave you like a glimpse into like what people were doing, how things were being made, and like how tumultuous building games it actually is. But yeah, dude, like that Valve documentary is really, really interesting and really, really cool. Like I had no idea, like so many of the faces in that game are real people. And like specifically like, oh my God, Eli is just some homeless guy. Like that they found some homeless guy on the street and like, they just like, you got a perfect face. And they just scanned his face and it was like, that's so interesting. And he probably has no idea, that guy, that he's like one of the most recognizable people in the world. Or like even just hearing about the lawsuit that they were in with like Vivendi was like super interesting. I didn't even know any of that. Because my history with Half-Life is weird. Like I really loved the original Half-Life. I played it a little bit later. And I didn't really like Half-Life 2. like what was impressive about Half-Life 2, it was like a lot of like the physics stuff. And I think by the time I got around to Half-Life 2, I had already played a lot of games that like either took advantage of the innovations that game had done, or just it was just so much later. Like I played Half-Life 2 in like 2011, you know, like so there were a lot of like physics games that had existed before then, and that I just thought were like, I kind of like Half-Life 1 better. Like there's something about Half-Life 1 and like the vibe and like the claustrophobia and like escaping this facility and just the scientists and the way that they're performed and the way that they look, even how they're in that weird like PS 1.5 territory, where they still look like poorly painted, like vague impressions of people, but like their mouths are moving. So it's like, it's so interesting, this like half step between the PS1 and the PS2. But yeah, that documentary is awesome. And I highly recommend it to anybody who's like interested in the industry or interested in just the process and this anybody who's interested in the stories of like these great games. Like this is the deepest dive that we've ever gotten into the development of Half-Life 2, like by a mile. And there's some stuff about the canceled episode 3 in there that I thought was like super fascinating, and like how there's like gameplay of it. Like they show like parts of it that ended up going to Portal and all these other things and like Left 4 Dead. And it's like, it's super cool, super interesting.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys, that's it. We're done. Another episode in the books. Before we go, though, is there anything you guys want to say? Any goodbyes or anything you got plans going on? Or should we just get the hell out of here?
Oh, man.
I got one thing to say to Chris.
Okay.
Chris, you're talking about a lack of stealth games. Bucko, just go out in the streets. You put a camera on a stick and shove it under a door. All right, you start pickpocketing people out there. Just start doing it. Life is a stealth game, and you just go out there. Yeah,
life is a stealth game, dude. I sometimes when I was a kid, I would sometimes, like when my parents were asleep, I would try to like sneak all the way down to the basement and then back up just to see if I could. This is how like stealth. This is how stealth obsessed I was, and still am. Like I love stealth. I just wish there were more of them, man. And it was funny, like people were tagging me in this news about like, there was like a Splinter Cell movie canceled or something. Like I don't know if it was Vin Diesel. Like who the fuck was attached to it? Do you remember? It was like some weird
Vin Diesel. That
who the hell? What? Hold on, wait.
Something stupid.
It was some Splinter Cell movie canceled. It was like some strange actor that I was like, damn it! I thought it would be in the headlines of one of these. It was. I saw it. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy had like it was like there's like a Tom Hardy Splinter Cell movie. It's like, this movie's been canceled. I was like, so where's the fucking game? I could give a fuck about you want to see a movie about a guy sneaking around? No.
Yeah,
I can't even I want to play it. I don't know. Frustrating.
Hey, we got Fizzant at least coming in the future from Kojima, a new stealth game.
Yeah, I can't even tell you how much of my personal soul is riding on that being entertaining.
I know.
Good.
Hopefully it's good, dude.
I really need it to be good. Like I actually re-downloaded Death Stranding Director's Cut just because I remember there was like pretty good stealth in that game actually, like especially around the BT stuff. So I was like, I need something. And I also haven't played the Director's Cut. So like it's probably a lot of stuff in there that I just don't know about. So
sure,
might jump into that soon.
Cool. Awesome. All right. We're going to get out of here, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching. We greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next episode. Take care, everybody. Goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.